Greetings and welcome to the Tinfoil Tavern, the cocktail-fueled conspiracy podcast based out of a little kitchen in New Zealand.
Thank you. This is my co-host. If he was a search engine, he'd be Bing. This is Thomas Busby.
Oh, whoa! I thought if he said search engine, I was like a tank engine? Like really slow to catch up on that one.
Yeah, that's why we call you Bing.
And that's Hannah, who is scared for the year 2020 because 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0 equals 4, which is the exact number of nipples Hitler would have had if he had had 2 extra nipples. Hannah Weatherall. It's last week's conspiracy time back.
It was. Yeah, I was trying to figure out the insult there.
It's implying you grasp at conspiracies that aren't there.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah. So for those of you new to the podcast, what we do is Hannah breaks down a conspiracy after committing far too much of her life into researching it, while I live under a rock and have absolutely no clue at all, and try to apply an open-minded, unbiased logic, all while sipping a suitably themed cocktail. Now, I do have to state that the materials appearing in this podcast are provided for general information and entertainment purposes and do not represent us making any claims against any or all parties or people mentioned. So, let's kick things off by first introducing today's theme to match the conspiracy cocktail.
So today's cocktail doesn't actually require its own, what do you call it? The thing that you do with the...
I don't know.
You just did it.
Introduction?
No, with a... Fuck it.
No, we're carrying on. We're not stopping. You've got to work out what you're trying to say here.
The thing where you're
Disclaimer.
like... Disclaimer.
Disclaimer, right.
Yeah, this last week's cocktail had a disclaimer.
Oh, because please don't use cyanide.
Yeah. This week's cocktail does not have a disclaimer because it's just a normal cocktail.
Well, so, for those listening at home, at the time of recording, honestly don't even know what the conspiracy is.
No, my mum came over earlier and she was like, what's tonight's conspiracy? And I'm like, I can't say because he's here.
Yeah.
And he'll hear you.
So, first of all, what's the name of the cocktail?
This is a Tom Collins.
A Tom Collins. And what is in a Tom Collins?
It is a classic cocktail, so I'm surprised you haven't heard of it, although also not surprised.
Patrick.
It's lemon juice, simple syrup, gin.
What's simple syrup?
It's basically a sweet syrup. I made it myself from scratch.
Like a sugar
this
water?
afternoon. Yeah, sugar water.
Yeah, all right.
But it's like viscous. Topped up with soda water and garnished with cherry and lemon.
And there's an alcohol in here, I assume.
Didn't I say gin? I'm sure I said gin.
Oh, maybe you did. I might have not been listening. And what's it called? Sorry, a Tom Collins.
Yeah.
Okay, well, from the name and the description, I have no idea what today's conspiracy is about still.
Okay, well, it's chosen because...
Oh, sorry, before you break it, I'm going to try it. Sorry, before you tell me what the conspiracy is, I'm going to try the cocktail. What did you think of it?
It's very average. It tastes like a soft drink.
You sure put gin in it? I can taste the gin because it's fancy as gin. I can taste its flavour, but I can't. It tastes like a soft drink.
Yeah, it's bland A. I was going to go back to the wine probably. I mean, I'll probably drink that because it's not offensive. It just tastes like...
Well, if anyone wants to try it, where do they find the recipe?
On the Instagram, to the Tinfoil Tavern.
How's that spelt? _tin_tavern?
Christ, what is it? Yeah, _tinfoil, TINFOIL, _tavern,
I have another shot here of gin, which I wanted to try separately because this is such fancy gin. I might just tip it into my drink to see if it lifts it up a level. How much did you put in?
Until it felt right.
Oh, okay. How much are you going to tell people to put in on the recipe?
I think it was like 2 ounces.
And right, so maybe for those reading it, or when you post the recipe, suggest maybe doubling that.
Maybe you should stir it first, or maybe we just...
Here, try this. Try the gin straight. It's good. Like it's real good.
It's delightful.
Yeah.
It's very botanical.
Yeah. Fenton Street? I think that's...
Was it?
Yeah. You stirring your cocktail with a pen.
I did that last week. Yeah, let me check on that gin. Maybe it was Fenton Street, which is local.
It is. It's a phenomenal gin. So, and while you check on that, sorry, what's today's...
Oh, yeah.
Fenton Street.
Fenton Street Gin, the Pioneer. Beautiful.
Fenton Street Gin, the Pioneer. If you can't hear it because she's
Here in
open.
Stratford.
Yeah, Stratford, New Zealand. Yeah, phenomenal stuff. And so what is today's conspiracy?
So today's conspiracy is the Titanic.
Oh, okay. And how does that relate to the cocktail?
It's one of the cocktails they had on their menu.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I could have gone like...
4 was also the number of nipples Hitler would have had if he had 2 more nipples.
Yeah. No, it wasn't a pun this time.
Yeah.
And I actually went, not a rabbit hole, because rabbit hole denotes conspiracy, but I went through quite a period of research that wasn't relevant at all about like the last menu and stuff they had on the Titanic, which probably you're just realising now is the basis of a conversation we might have had earlier this week about future projects.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Yeah, which doesn't relate at all to this podcast. But.
Not at all. So you're going to have to indulge me a bit later when I go through the last menu and stuff like that. But yeah, Tom Collins was on the menu. Things like Manhattan was on the menu. Just some nice old fashions. In fact, I think old fashioned itself, the cocktail, was on the menu.
Right.
So we're talking about the conspiracy of the Titanic. Did you know that there was a conspiracy about the Titanic?
Yes.
What conspiracy is that?
No, I couldn't even tell you anything other than that I think I've seen part of a documentary maybe about it. To show how heavily Patrick I am, I haven't even seen the movie. So haven't seen the movie, haven't read a book.
You've never seen the movie? The one with
Never
Kate
seen it.
Winslet and...
Yeah, never seen it.
How?
What do you mean how? By choice?
Oh, like me with Star Wars.
Pardon?
Like me with Star Wars.
Yeah, like you with Star Wars.
It got to be a thing where it's like, have you not seen this movie?
Yeah.
And then you just chose not to.
So half our
Out of
audience
stubbornnness.
just went, I fucking hate him. And the other half went, why are you with her?
I can show you.
Not in a podcast. So let's begin.
Let's begin. And you were with me because I'm the best you've ever had. We're going to go through a brief history of the Titanic
Okay.
because that's how we start all our podcasts.
Yeah.
So, April 15th, 1912, the RMS Titanic sank into the North Atlantic Ocean after hitting an iceberg, which you'd know if you'd seen the movie.
Oh, I knew that happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
The wreck is about 740 miles off the coast of Newfoundland in Canada. And she was, as in she, the Titanic, because, you know, like, people call ships she. That's the thing. So
Okay,
if I say
yeah.
she, it's because it's referring to the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was one of 3 ships made in the Olympic class of ships owned by the White Star Line. She was the second of 3. So the first was the Olympic itself, second was the Titanic, and the third was Britannic. She was...
What happened to the Britannic?
Britannic, I think, sank during World War One.
Oh, I'm sidetracking it. Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't hit an iceberg. It would have
don't
been
think
great
so.
if all 3 hit an iceberg.
No, they just got hit by like U-boats.
Yeah,
and
that's
missiles and
that's
lots of
standard procedure.
people
isn't
died
it?
and stuff.
Yeah.
It was very sad.
Yeah.
She was built in Belfast, Ireland, by the Harland and Wolff shipyard. The 2 other ships, the Olympic and Britannic, were made. Well, Olympic was made before, and Britannic was built after Titanic sunk. Spoiler alert: it sinks. Titanic.
Sorry, the
So the Olympic was set off before Titanic. So the Olympic and Titanic they were sort of getting built at the same time.
Yeah.
The Olympic was finished sooner and was in service, I think, about a year before Titanic was actually launched.
Okay.
And then Britannic was launched after Titanic sunk.
Right.
Yeah, but they're all these ships were very similar looking and owned by the same people, so very similar looking ships.
Right. And so the Titanic is only famous because it sunk?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other ships are relatively famous themselves at the time.
Oh, I've never heard of them, but I'm also me.
You also, Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were like the way to get across the Atlantic. The cost for building Titanic was approximately £3 million, but within today's money, about £320 million.
Okay. I'm not sure what that is like in the scale of shipbuilding now. Like how much?
Shipbuilding, not sure. £320 million is probably about $700 million.
Oh, no, sorry, I understand the exchange rate. I was just like, I don't know if that's expensive or cheap, and when you adjust it for inflation.
Oh, okay. It was very expensive. The Titanic and the whole Olympic line, they were built very much for luxury. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know what the average cruise ship now costs to make.
Probably more now because the cruise ship. Have you ever seen those side-by-side comparisons of like some of those modern-day cruise ships compared to Titanic? So Titanic at the time was absolutely huge.
Yeah.
It was the biggest ship in existence at the time.
But in comparison now...
Yeah, that it's a tiny little baby dwarf compared to like the Carnival cruise ships and stuff that
okay.
tiny compared to it.
Okay.
So I imagine the cruise ships now are much more expensive, even with inflation and stuff, because they're so much bigger.
For some reason in my head it was like the Hindenburg kind of thing, and just this monster massive that was practically large.
Well, it was at the time.
Yeah, I understand at the
Just
time,
not
and
now.
that kind of idea of it has, I guess, carried forward to me, but I didn't know it was, compared to current cruise ships, nowhere near the same size.
Yeah, just a little baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's still quite large. I think it was, I don't have it written down, but I think she was around 850 feet long or something.
Once again, I don't even understand feet. Also, I know what the distance is, but like you translate that to meters.
I think I saw that it might have been the length of like 2 or 2.5 football fields length to length.
It's about 250 meters, right?
Is a football field only 100 meters?
I'm pretty sure they're 100 meters.
Are they?
That's from try line to try line, not from the dead zone lines behind the goalposts.
Oh, so maybe it feels like 250.
Oh, sorry, football.
Yeah.
Once again, you're British, I'm not.
Yeah.
Do you mean soccer?
I mean football.
Yeah.
What do you mean by football? Rugby? No, rugby's rugby and football's football.
Yeah, okay. So...
Hang on a second. Okay, Google. 850 feet in meters.
Jesus.
1 meter is 100 centimeters.
Yeah, I know. Never mind.
Google
never
it you down.
Never mind. All right, we'll just carry on.
Thanks for listening.
So Titanic was, like I said, she was made for luxury.
Yeah.
At least for first and second class. The third class were treated not as good. There's like 700 plus people in third class, right?
Right, okay.
And
yeah.
they had 2 bathtubs between them.
Oh, between the 700 people?
Yeah.
Oh, well, but they're in the ocean. They just go for a swim.
I'm
joking.
That they did.
Yeah.
That they did. I'm sure they had wet
Shower
wipes
time.
or something.
Bath time, sorry.
Shower time. It harks back to last week. With the gas chambers. Because it was Hitler.
I don't recall.
Never mind.
I don't recall the shower reference.
That's because you don't know anything about World War II history.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so amenities on the Titanic included a swimming pool, squash court, gym, steam rooms, massage rooms, reading room, and multiple lounges, cafes, a restaurant, and multiple dining areas. Again, this is for first class and second class. Third class had their own sort of dining areas because you don't want to get fleas or anything.
Right.
And multiple public spaces on
So
on
is
decks.
it still, for third class, that was still considered luxury?
Luxury for third class, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they still loved it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they thought 2 bathrooms between 750 people was fine.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm guessing so. I'm not sure.
Okay. Just getting a feel for the times.
But like,
Also, how many people were third class?
at least 700.
700. And so
Yeah.
how many did the ship hold, people-wise?
So well, that's a complicated question because no one actually knows exactly how many people died. If you go onto like Wikipedia or whatever, it gives you an exact figure, but no one actually knows what the exact figure is. That's come to from looking at passenger records, which were famously
do we know
inaccurate.
how many it was?
Around 2,228 people in total. 700 of those were
2028.
third class. And I think there was around 900 crew.
That's probably a better idea for getting a feel for sizes.
Yeah.
2,000-ish people, 700 and something were the
Third class.
third class.
About 900 crew.
900 crew?
Yeah. I mean, all the sources are looked at anywhere
So there's
between
more crew than third class.
688 crew to like 907.
Okay.
And it's really hard to actually find out how many because records weren't kept very well.
Yeah. It's still just surprising. Like,
Yeah.
instead of being third class, you might have been better off. I wonder how the crew were treated.
Well,
They probably had to be clean to serve the first class.
You'd assume so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And first class sounds good, nice. Like, their suites had private bathrooms.
Yeah.
And then you go down to third class and you've got 2 bathtubs between.
Imagine the queue for that.
Hopefully there's more toilets.
Yeah, I'm just picturing more sanitary options are also just over the rail.
Yeah. Or maybe there's like quite a lot of sinks and toilets but just 2 bathtubs. I didn't actually see about showers. I'm not sure.
No, it's not a sanitary podcast.
I suppose not. So yeah, the third class had their own dining rooms and public spaces away from the good people in first and second class. So
I know you're hating this cocktail, but I don't mind it.
I don't hate it. It's just it tastes like a soft drink. So I'd rather drink wine.
Yeah, well, also maybe because I'm feeling massive on the dehydration. It's ticking a box for me at the moment.
See,
But-
that's how cocktails get you. Like, you think it's innocent. There's
Yeah.
quite a lot of alcohol in there.
Well, I mean, you also passed over yours, and I've got a double shot of gin here beside me as well.
The problem is...
But I mean, the last 3 haven't really been for me, and this one's probably my favourite.
I knew you'd like... Because the other ones were like my style, like short and sour.
Yeah.
This one's got like a shot of simple syrup per glass, so...
Yeah, and so maybe it's just my undeveloped palate.
It is. It definitely is.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. So at this point, we're not going to talk about conspiracies. You're going to absolutely indulge me in my own interests in this.
Oh, well,
Sorry.
what's about to happen?
Sorry. I'm going to bore you with some excerpts from the menus
Why are you doing that?
because I'm interested in food
Okay,
and you're going to listen.
so it's got nothing to do with
Because
conspiracy.
it's got nothing to do with conspiracy at all. But I like... So it takes me a long time to research, right?
Yeah.
So I've been researching this since like last week, every night, sometimes during work hours, not often, during my lunch work hours. My boss listens to this. And after work, I get home, I start researching it.
Yeah.
And I was, because, as you know, I'm massively interested in food. Mm-hmm. I was just really interested in the menu.
How long do you reckon it's going to take you to go through this?
I don't know. Who knows? It's a surprise. And you're stuck here.
Okay, I tell you what. If you want to skip forward a couple of minutes,
4 minutes.
4 minutes. Skip forward 4 minutes, and if you don't hear me say that was very interesting, it means you haven't skipped forward far enough yet.
Fine. All right.
Go.
So I'll just do some excerpts, all right?
Yeah.
So,
No, I want the 4 minute menu. Go.
or third class menu. For breakfast, they had things like porridge, ham and eggs, smoked herrings, bread and marmalade. Dinner was rice soup, roast beef.
Sorry, what? Rice soup.
Rice soup, yeah. So I've seen a recipe for this online, and it's like it's like rice, but with like a lot of liquid with like stock and stuff, and a bit of cream. So it's like really It's like a really watered down risotto,
Yeah. Okay.
but rice
Yeah.
soup.
So it's got some flavour and it fills
Yeah.
you up because it's got rice in it.
Yeah, it's not just plain white rice.
Yeah,
that sucks.
yeah, rice soup.
Roast beef, potatoes, vegetables, gravy, plum pudding.
Oh, okay.
And for supper, it was on the third class menu, literal gruels offered with biscuits and cheese.
What is literal gruel?
So gruel is... There's not one definition for gruel, but it's generally something that's watered down, like it could be porridge or it could be like a rice pudding, but not a pudding.
So
They're
for
not
those
sweet.
that skipped ahead to 4 minutes and missed out on this, because they're not going to hear me say this, I
It's
think this
only
actually...
been 4 minutes.
No, but for those that skipped ahead, they're not going to hear me say this part and actually feel... I think this is doing a fantastic job of setting the scene of the times. So well done. Carry on.
Oh,
yeah.
I think so. Thank you.
Yeah.
So gruel is generally like a starch that's been watered down. So it could be rice, could be porridge. And then,
It's a mystery starch and a mystery liquid and you eat it.
often it was like watered down with, again, kind of similar to the rice soup, I suppose.
It's
Except
all the
thicker.
same thing with different names.
Yeah, thicker. And you could or you could make gruel sweet, or you could make it savoury. I guess it's like porridge. You could put fruit in it, or you could salt it like the Scottish used to do.
Right.
But it's a bit thinner. So
the
like...
difference between gruel and rice soup is salt or sugar.
I guess.
Sounds a bit like it, eh?
Who knows?
Yeah, okay.
Biscuits and cheese. So second class, they were treated a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Like breakfast was a mixture of fruit, porridge, fish, kidneys with bacon. You can keep the kidneys. Sausage, potato gratin, ham, eggs, scones, buckwheat cakes with syrup, which I'm guessing is like pancakes with syrup, like American pancakes with syrup.
Mm-hmm.
Lunch. This is all taken from the last day menu. To the day before.
Right, because that's the stuff that really matters, yeah.
Lunch was pea soup, spaghetti au gratin, corned beef and vegetables, dumplings, pickles, salad, apple tart, cheese and biscuits. And dinner was a consomme with tapioca. I'm not sure about the tapioca aspect of that. I don't like tapioca. Baked haddock and sauce, curried chicken, spring lamb, roast turkey, vegetables, plum pudding, wine jelly, ice cream, coconut sandwich, fruit, cheese and biscuits.
Third class had some winning items as well, though. But that definitely sounds like a step up.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
And then first class. So
I'm excited for this. Yeah.
So I actually didn't list everything on first class menu. I just took out some because it was very extensive.
Oh, really? That's not actually a good thing. Oh, no, never mind. Different topic.
It was a good thing. So breakfast was, a selection of fresh and baked fruit, scones, smoked haddock, ham, sausages, eggs, steak, potatoes. Lunch was a consomme, kokaliki, eggs.
Sorry. What's a consomme?
So it's like a very clear broth.
Okay.
So you like make the broth and then you sieve it through like a muslin cloth and make a very clear but flavorful broth.
And what was the second item?
Kokaliki.
And what's kokaliki?
It's like I think it's similar to a kedgeree except with no fish.
And what's a kedgeree?
It's like a fancy pie, bro.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
Eggs, mutton chops, veal and ham pie, chicken, heaps of cheese.
On to page 6 of the menu.
And dinner was a variety of hors d'oeuvres, oysters, filet mignon, chicken lyonnaise. Oh, you say that. Do you want to know something real terrible?
Yes.
You know, I've been like real sick this week.
Yeah.
I was actually, because you know how last week I made an effort.
Hold
and I made,
on a minute. Does this need to be podcast broadcast?
What do you mean? It's not sexual.
No, but like that stopped us. But no, I don't know what you're about to say. And
Or
you're
it's gonna
talking
be
about
all
food
those-
and then talking
yeah,
about being really sick
like,
and it
no.
sounds like it's going to be disgusting.
No, it's not going to be disgusting. It's going to
yeah.
be all those, here's what you could have won moments. So last week, you know how I made like a real nice charcuterie and like did my hair in like real retro ways because we were talking about World War II.
Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't obvious to the podcasters.
No, but you knew.
Hannah went all out last weekend. There's a fancy platter. She was dressed up all tidy and beautiful. And
Even Frankie was brushed beautifully.
Frankie's the cat. Like everything was just quite over the top fancy. And I was like,
And this week I'm a snot goblin and my house is a wreck. And I had a tantrum and made Thomas sort dinner.
how did that go for you?
I ended up making dinner. But
I'm taking you out for dinner tomorrow night, though.
Thanks. My point was, I was actually going. I had good
You'd
intentions.
fill him in long without me, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No, I had good intentions to recreate the Titanic menu for you tonight, but I've been so like
The
sick.
Titanic menu.
Well, no, some aspects of the first class menu. Sorry.
So for those that have skipped ahead and are hearing this part, you still need to skip forward maybe like another minute or two.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll say 2 more minutes. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we're still talking about food.
So I was going to recreate aspects of the first class menu for you, but I've been so sick, and then catching up on work, I've been so busy. All you have instead is a snot goblin with a messy house, and you had to sort dinner, which you didn't really do. But never mind.
I don't really do.
But I was going to do the dinner. So like the filet mignon reminded me because you like filet mignon. Chicken
Okay, I'm
lyonnaise,
gutted, yeah.
lamb
Chicken what?
lyonnaise.
Which is
It's chicken with a sauce.
okay.
Yeah.
A white sauce, I'm guessing.
Lamb, roast duckling, beef sirloin, chateau potatoes. I'd like to make chateau potatoes at some point, except
Roast duckling.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
foie gras, peaches in chartreuse jelly, Waldorf pudding, eclairs, and ice cream. So that was just a selection from the first.
Some of it
class
just
menu,
sounds expensive. So yeah, all right. Yeah,
but worth it.
maybe. I stopped asking about the items I didn't understand because I'm such a peasant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go back to the relevant stuff. Thank you for indulging me in that. It's just I was really interested in it.
That was really interesting.
Are you being sarcastic?
No, it's the point. So if people have skipped ahead and they hear me saying that was really interesting,
But you
they
sounded
know
sarcastic. Like, can you do it again?
that was so interesting.
Fuck off. Back to the relevant
I
stuff.
love you.
There were maybe officially 2,224 on board, but we don't actually know that because it's really hard to get an actual number.
Roughly, right.
Yeah, because like I said before, I mean, like passports and stuff weren't really a thing so much. And people, quite a lot of people like cancelled last minute. And this is obviously well before digital, so like a lot of written records. It's really hard to get an actual number. Okay. So around...
Is the number important to anything coming up in the future?
There is one aspect where it could be somewhat important, but not hugely.
Okay.
It's just an interesting aspect. Like these days, you can't really go on an aeroplane and people know exactly how many people.
Yeah.
And so out there around roughly...
Ooh, terrorists?
There's no terrorists in this story.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. No, that was just the only thing I could think of that related to not knowing the numbers. But all right. Sorry, carry on. Yeah.
So there was approximately 2,224 people on board, possibly. And around, again,
Right.
possibly, 1,507 died. But again, this figure, like,
How
I
many
was...
people survived the Titanic?
Yeah, a few people.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
At least a couple.
I haven't seen the movie, don't know. Yeah.
But again, that figure of the people that died, it could be anywhere from like I saw figures from like 1,400 or whatever to 1,600 because it just wasn't well documented.
Okay.
It was difficult.
Okay.
But regardless
Fact
of...
accepted.
Thank you. Regardless of the margin of error there, it does remain the shipwreck with the most lives lost during peacetime. Still to this day.
Right.
During
okay.
peacetime only.
Yeah. Understandably.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So she was due to arrive in New York on April the 17th.
Where did it leave?
Well, it originally left from Southampton, and then it made a stop. That's in the UK.
Okay.
And then it made a stop in, I think, was it France and then Ireland? And then,
I don't know enough
Ireland?
geography to understand even where this is, but essentially was it going around the world, was it?
So it was going from that area to New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was due to land in New York April 17th at 11:40 p.m. During the trip, a lookout spotted an iceberg straight ahead, and the ship was ordered to be steered around it. But they spotted it too late, and the ship struck the iceberg. So, interesting thing there. Sorry, was that a spoiler because you haven't seen the movie?
No. That's the only fact I knew about this.
Oh, actually, a lot of engineers and stuff to this day think that if they had actually struck the iceberg head on, it might have been all right. Well, not bounced off, but people wouldn't have died and stuff.
Okay, I didn't know that, but having you hear you say that, it's triggered a memory. So
Yeah.
I think from throughout this, I think I'm going to have a lot of flashbacks that...
But you said you never saw it.
No, but I remember I said I've vaguely seen part of a documentary. I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen a bit of a Titanic documentary-ish of some sort. And I don't recall anything from it, but you saying that, I go, oh, actually, I think I remember that. So I might have some subconscious, preconceived ideas, biasisms about this that might come to the forefront of my indecision.
Cool.
Make up all those big words and you just say cool?
Hey, you use at least one word that had more than 3 syllables. I'm impressed.
You want me to clap like a seal now?
Yeah, go on then.
No, it's all right.
But as it was, this iceberg struck the ship on the side, the starboard side, which is right.
Sadly,
So,
I didn't know that either.
well, there is an easy way to remember it. So, port and starboard,
Yeah.
one's left, one's right.
Yeah.
Port and left both have 4 letters. There's an easy way to remember which is which. He's
I was
counting on his fingers.
I was spelling out
Yeah.
starboard.
No, you don't have to remember that one.
No,
All you have to
because
remember,
I didn't want starboard and right to have the same amount of letters as well.
they obviously don't.
No, but I just had to check that. That's why I was counting.
Yeah, he just counted on 8 of his fingers.
I counted to 8 on one hand.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I didn't make that very
That's
clear.
quality breeding.
He's from Inglewood, y'all.
No, I'm not.
Where are you from?
Egmont Village.
That's even worse.
No, it's not.
It is.
You're from the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Yeah, please don't come to war with us. We're quite small.
You're so small.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
so the iceberg struck the Titanic on the starboard side, which is right, as we just discussed.
I just took a mouthful. The iceberg struck the Titanic. We were attacked. The Titanic struck the iceberg, I think you mean.
Or did it? Anyway.
What a terrible time to take a mouthful.
I know. I
Sorry.
can hear the crumbs in your
During
mouth.
a
Just
podcast.
can you-
Podcast.
podcast.
I'll never do it again.
Just swallow, all right, bro? So the ship sank by about 2:20 a.m. 2 hours after that, or just before, the RMS Carpathia arrived and took on about 710 survivors. And 3 days later...
2 hours in that water.
Yeah, so that's why a lot of people died. So,
Oh, sorry, was there rafts?
yes, there was.
Okay.
Not
okay.
enough.
Yeah.
Which isn't... There's like... I didn't actually go into that because that's common knowledge that the Titanic was under-equipped with lifeboats. That's not a conspiracy. That's just general knowledge. So I didn't really go into
Standard
that
practice for the
because
days.
I assumed that you'd... But yeah, she didn't have enough lifeboats for the amount of people on board. It wasn't illegal. A lot of people think it was illegal. It wasn't. She actually had the amount necessary for a ship of her size. It wasn't enough for the people, but legally,
the legal requirement for them.
legally they
Right.
were in the clear.
Okay.
So yeah, the Carpathia turned up and took on
So
about...
anyone going on a more modern cruise, they have enough lifeboats for the number of people on board.
Sure, I hope so.
Yeah, you'd hope so.
Yeah.
Feel free to Google that if you're unsure, but the Titanic precedent is not a precedent.
Well,
I would
actually,
guess.
after the Titanic, they made a whole lot of different rules and regulations, and so the Titanic sinking...
Has saved a lot of lives.
I hope so. I mean, yeah.
You'd hope so.
Would you, at the extent of like 1500? Well, probably.
It's
But
probably,
yeah, they
it's
had
probably
to.
balanced out by now. We're probably all good.
Or the Olympic that was already in service before the Titanic. It went back to the dry dock and got retrofitted with extra safety protocols just because of this, and it's changed
Because of the
maritime law.
Titanic.
Yeah, and it's
Okay.
changed maritime law the world over
So
from then
to
on.
look at the bright side of things, if you've got a relative that died on the Titanic, thank you. Like you have no, but like the unfortunate cost of their demise is most likely saved a lot of lives.
At least 2.
No, don't undermine it. People died.
Yeah, and now you're undermining it.
No, you're undermining it.
Just saying, like,
I'm giving them praise
I don't think we should have lost like 1,500 people just
to save tens of thousands. Nah, neither do I.
Don't think they just
I'm giving you a sarcastic look. Carry on
maths is a
while I
strong
drink
point.
this cocktail.
So 3 days later, the Carpathia arrived in New York and offloaded all her Titanic survivors. Later on, missions to collect the bodies only recovered around 300 to 400
Okay.
bodies. So that's so total there's around 1,000.
Man, what a grim job that would have been, just collecting bodies out of the ocean.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would have been.
Yeah.
Many expeditions trying to locate the wreck were undertaken, but it wasn't found until 1985,
And sorry, when did it sink? What year?
1912,
And when was it found?
1985.
Wow, man, that's a long time
Yeah.
later. Is that just because of the
Well-
scuba nautical gear of the time kind of thing, and it was in deep water? Or
Part of the issue is the Titanic was found 13 miles away from where the SOS coordinates said that they were when they ran into trouble in the night.
okay.
And also, it was kind of found by accident. Apparently, it was like during
The wreck was found by accident. Yeah, yeah.
during like I think it was I don't have it written down. I think it was a Cold War exercise, and they came across this wreck and thought it could be because there was not much other stuff it could have been in the area, so they let people know, and then they investigated, and it was a
Yeah,
Titanic.
it turned out it was the Titanic. Okay.
So we'll go on to the conspiracies.
Oh man.
Yeah, so this one,
Okay, so at the moment, I've got no, like, my only grasp was at terrorists, which you've already shot down.
why did you think terrorists?
Because just that, like, unknowing who was on board and how many people and just the
You're
number
thinking
side
of like the plane MH370.
Yeah, something like that kind of thing. That's my only thing I
There
could
were possibly, like,
grasp at.
two-
So, like, give me a sec. What else could I think of? Without trying to be what I would consider out there. Mm-hmm. Oh, no, I haven't got much other than there's one financial.
Yes.
Okay, is it related to? At this time, did the stock market exist? I'm assuming so.
Yes.
I heard a real good on the Sherlock Holmes series, what they did, and I don't know if this is true. So
It was on Sherlock Holmes, obviously. It's true.
yeah.
The one with Benedict.
Benedict
Cumberbatch.
Cucumber Patch. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what they did is they had a plane full of already dead bodies.
Oh, I saw that one, yeah.
Yeah,
First season,
yeah.
right?
And that maybe, I think so, or might have been second, I'm not sure. And then they crashed it into, I don't know, a paddock. They crashed it anyway, and I think the pilot bailed out. Or maybe he didn't, I don't know. But then they had a crashed plane full of a ton of dead bodies. But before they did that, they brought shares in their competition's airline. So the shares in the airline of the plane that had crashed because they had just crashed, killing quotation marks, heaps of people, and the opposition airline was now the safe one, and so their shares boomed. Is that a conspiracy to do with Titanic?
No.
Okay,
No.
I'm out. No, I've got no idea then. How
But it
I've got
was-
zero.
I should really start watching it from the start again. It's been years since I've watched
Sherlock.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, should we watch that after this?
It was such a good... No, we've got to finish Ms. Marvel.
Okay.
Oh, you don't sound very enthused.
No, I'm not that enthused, but we need.
You
do
said
need
that apparently the last episode's real good.
Yeah, sidetracking. Carry on. What's the conspiracies?
Okay, so the first... And I have actually ordered this. What?
Well, I don't know what it is to respond yet. Yeah, but
I've
you
ordered
brought some-
this.
The Titanic.
Because you said that I should start from, like, the least to most.
Oh, you've ordered the conspiracy. Sorry, I thought
Yeah.
you meant you brought something online.
No. I've
And you're
ordered...
about to tell me what you've just brought online.
Yes, I have ordered this
Titanic.
life-size Titanic into my one-bedroom flat. You might have noticed when you came around today, it was a bit more squishy than usual.
It's a little tight.
It's a dinky little kitchen. I live here alone with my cat and the entire Titanic.
Right, so what are we starting from? So
we're starting with the, in my opinion, you might think differently, the least likely conspiracy first.
As in what you would consider the most far out there?
Yeah, dumbest.
Okay.
But again, no offense if this is the one you believe.
Okay.
All right, first theory. The Titanic was sunk because of an unlucky mummy.
All right, I see why this is at the first on the
But
list.
it's been a conspiracy since the time it actually sank. They actually had newspaper articles in actual newspapers about this unlucky mummy. Most of them
mummy, as in like
an Egyptian
zombie
mummy.
sarcophagus, Egyptian mummy.
Zombies have nothing to do with it.
No, but like we're trying to get like paint
Egyptian
the picture for the other
sarcophagi. Yeah, mummy.
Sarcophagi.
So this, I think most of this stemmed back from there is actually an unlucky mummy, not on the Titanic, but there is an unlucky mummy, and there was actually someone on board who was telling people that there was an unlucky mummy on board just because I think he liked to shoot the shit, honestly.
Well, is it a fact that there was a mummy on board?
No, it's not. It's rumoured that there was a mummy on board.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but so can you confirm there wasn't a mummy on board?
No, you can't confirm there wasn't.
Sorry, to the best of your knowledge, what do you feel as far as mummy on board or not goes?
Well, I'll go through it.
Oh, okay. There's more to it. Cool. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't just saying the unlucky mummy. Ooh,
no,
unfortunate. Theory number 2.
That's what I thought it was. I'm excited to hear some facts. Okay.
Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah.
There were legends of an unlucky mummy predating the Titanic by quite a few years, actually. So, as the story goes, this unlucky mummy, she was found in Egypt by someone, and she was apparently a priestess of Amun-Ra. So, if she was dug up and sold to some kind of rich British dickhead, and death and misfortune followed anyone who came into contact with the mummy. So it went through a lot of people until it was eventually donated to the British Museum because people kept getting sick of death and misfortune and sickness following them. So British Museum, it caused a lot of ghostly goings on, and an American later bought the mummy. And we'll pause there. It caused a lot of ghostly goings on at the British Museum. This is all just kind of hearsay. Also, it's like in the British Museum, like lore, but as an Lore. Probably just tales because it makes things more interesting. So there is all kind of fact. There is a mummy. There is an actual mummy who's a real mummy.
That the British consider unlucky.
Yeah. And apparently these tales of misfortune are documented, but it's coincident, but they're documented. So after this, it becomes a little bit more not so factual. So an American, possibly, later bought the mummy and arranged for transport on the Titanic, and her malevolent forces caused it to sink. However, there is no record of a mummy on board.
So why did it make newspaper? Why was it in the press?
Because of that dude I was saying about before who liked to talk shit and was talking about the mummy on board and the curse and stuff.
Oh, so because he spoke to a lot of people that were survivors of the incident, that was the only thing that they heard of.
Yeah.
Okay.
So...
okay, is there more facts for that one?
No, not really. The unlucky mummy, she is an actual mummy, and she is in the British Museum, and apparently bad fortune has followed her around, and she still resides in the British Museum. However, and this is a very sort of tenuous however, what's in the British Museum is actually just the mummy box covering, so there's no mummy inside it in the British Museum, and the theory is that actually the mummy itself was transported on the ship, and that's what caused the sinking, and that's why it's just like the box left in the British Museum.
So, no, I'm expecting you... Like, do you know where the mummy is?
No, but no one actually knows if there was ever a mummy at all. So
inside this box?
Inside the box, inside the mummy box. So it is a sarcophagus.
Okay, but sorry, no, I'm trying to give this a score out of 10, as in like I'd like to do.
Curses don't exist, bro.
No, can you prove that?
Yes.
You're just nodding your head out of stubbornness and ignoring fact, right?
I mean ignoring fact. I said that curses don't exist. You give me a fact
give me a fact that proves they do, And give me a fact that proves they don't.
No, you're the one making the supposition. So
No,
you
no,
have to
no.
defend
I'm sitting in the middle here.
I don't think
my
you,
argument.
You're not sitting in the middle. You're asking me to prove both sides to you. That's not how arguments work.
I'm asking you to prove against what you've said.
Okay.
Because my argument,
Common sense.
from your common sense,
Do you think that curses exist?
I have nothing to prove that they do or do not.
Yeah, nothing to prove that you do. So there you go.
Or
closed.
do not, and you do not have anything to prove that they do or do not either.
Well, okay.
So let me finish. So that side of it there, I'm going to go for 50-50 down the middle due to lack of knowledge and experience. I'm keeping an open-mindedness. Maybe
You go
someone...
for a 5 out of 10 on that.
No.
You said 50-50.
For the 50-50 for the fact that curses exist or do not exist. That is all.
Okay.
The fact that it was on the ship or not, you found no evidence to say that it was.
Correct.
And the British Museum has what they say is the same mummy's box.
Yeah, that's an actual artifact.
And the boxes.
Yeah.
But there's no proof that that box was on the Titanic.
The box has got no paperwork to say
Oh, no,
that
because it wouldn't... Sorry, they
Yeah.
held the mummy that was on the Titanic, which you can't prove was on the Titanic.
Yeah.
Okay, this is really grasping at straws and requires a lot of things. That I'm gonna go for no confidence. Like, I just don't know enough to rule this in or out.
But you believe in curses.
No, I don't say I do or do not.
But you're 50-50 on them.
No, I'm saying I do. I don't have any knowledge or experience on
You just
them.
said you're 50-50. Like just before.
No, but if I had to give it a score,
literally on record. This is why.
no, that's okay. I'm happy for this to be recorded. That's why I'm speaking into a microphone. So what I'm saying is, my experience and knowledge of curses is nothing. Zil, nip. It was a field, it would be barren. Okay?
Okay.
No comment. Not going to rule it out.
Jolly good.
Right.
We'll go on to the second theory.
Okay.
JP Morgan. Have you heard of JP Morgan?
No.
It's a very famous banking industry.
Was his first name Jack? Did he make rum?
No, it's John.
Okay.
Yeah. So JP Morgan Chase is still a banking institution that exists to this day. Now to this dude. So Jean Piermont Morgan was an American financier and investor. He was super rich.
Mm-hmm.
In modern day terms, he would have been a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
So among many other
I
companies,
consider that impressive. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah.
not struggling.
No,
Yeah.
he's got to be.
Yeah. He's not like picking up home brand from the supermarket.
He probably does. That's probably how he's a billionaire.
No, I think it was all the investment banking and insider trading.
Oh, not frugal buying.
No.
Okay, my bad. Yeah.
So among many, many other companies, he owned IMM, which is International Mercantile Marine Company.
Sorry, international what?
Mercantile Marine Company.
Okay.
Who then went on to buy the White Sister Line, who, as we
Who
know,
owned the three ships? Yep.
and I think a few other ships, but that was that was the Olympic line
The
that
three
we're
in
talking
question.
about.
Yep.
So JP Morgan, and this is not conspiracy at this point, this is fact. Since at least 1907, he was pushing to create the Federal Reserve in the US. So we won't.
So it didn't exist at the time.
No, they tried to push for it at least twice before then, and it never quite got there.
Right.
And he was trying to push for it.
Okay.
And there was a big old meeting in 1907, and obviously this is Titanic sink in 1912. So he'd been pushing since at least then for the Federal Reserve. And apparently there were three very wealthy and very powerful men on board the Titanic who opposed the Federal Reserve. So it was John Jacob Astor IV. Some reports say he was possibly the richest man in the world at that point. Benjamin Guggenheim, who you might know from Guggenheim, is in Guggenheim Museum.
No, I don't, but laughed at the name.
And Isis.
Sorry, let you say, oh God, but is that a Northern Hemisphere museum?
I think there's like at least 4 of them around.
Can you name any museum in the South Island of New Zealand?
The Christchurch Museum.
No.
The Lincoln Museum.
No.
They're both museums. You're just saying that.
No, but the fact is, even if I said no, you don't know for a fact. So don't give me the eye roll for not knowing Northern Hemisphere museums.
They're world famous.
No,
I'm
they're
not talking
not.
about like some kind of provincial Christchurch museum. Bro, it's the
Have you
Guggenheim.
heard of Lord of the Rings?
Nope.
Guess where that was filmed?
Not anymore.
Peter Jackson didn't even get an invite.
Ouch. What were we talking about? Oh, Benjamin Guggenheim. Oh, yeah, that's right. Guggenheim Museum. And Isis Strauss, who his family now owns Macy's. Well, I think they actually did back then.
I also don't know what Macy's is.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
No, it's not tangent. Carry on.
So, JP Morgan decides to sink the Titanic because he finds out that all
Lots
three
of his competition are on the boat.
of his... Yeah, you don't have to try and make yourself sound intelligent just because you don't know what the Guggenheim is. So he finds out that all three of his...
Every listener that doesn't know what the Guggenheim is just went, fuck it. Like, we're as dumb as Thomas.
Everyone knows what the Guggenheim is.
What's the Guggenheim?
Like museums and shit.
All right. I honestly... so I'm couple of drinks in on a dehydration kind of day, and I'd actually forgot that Guggenheim was a museum. So this is...
Yeah, we just discussed it.
Yeah, I know. Like, that many drinks in.
What sort of like...
I could do with another one of those cocktails, actually.
Do you want to pause so I can make
Should we
sure?
pause and you make me another one?
Sure.
Okay.
So, JP Morgan decides to sink the Titanic when he finds out all three of his nemesis are on board. He may have gotten the idea from a book written 14 years prior called The Wreck of the Titan by Morgan Robertson.
Oh, is that just a convenient name, though?
No, this is actually genuinely a little bit spooky. So it was written 14 years prior.
Mm-hmm.
It was called The Wreck of the Titan. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of weird similarities between the book and what happened in real life. So the book, The Wreck of the Titan, is about a ship called Titan, and both ships sunk in the North Atlantic after hitting an iceberg.
Really?
Yeah, this is actual genuine, no shit.
Okay.
Like, looked it up.
Yeah.
And this is all genuine. So both ships hit an iceberg. Neither ship had enough lifeboats for all the passengers, and both ships, more than half the passengers and crew died, and that's the same as both the fictional and...
So is the iceberg a fact?
Officially, yeah.
What do you mean by officially?
Oh, yeah, officially. We haven't got onto all of them yet. But yeah, officially the iceberg is a fact. And I do believe that there was an iceberg, yes.
Okay.
Is that okay?
No, but I mean, like, sorry, you sound like there's more to come on that topic, so I'm trying not to question it because I'll wait till find out.
Okay.
Yeah, keep listening. Yeah.
So he
Don't
may...
fast forward 4 minutes. Yeah.
So he may have gotten his inspiration from that book. Probably not, but I also thought that it was interesting enough to include because that is a bit spooky, right?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Like,
yeah, I'm liking it.
And also, do you know another...
Boy, man, your eyebrows are up. Yeah? What?
Mental, actual, true twist?
Yeah?
The author of that book
Yeah?
died on the actual Titanic.
That's
Mental, eh?
That's very cool.
That's
he
crazy.
wrote the book about the Titanic 14 years earlier.
Titan.
The Titan.
Yeah.
Yeah, close enough
Yeah,
of a
close
name.
enough. That's creepy
Do you
as hell.
reckon he liked Alanis Morissette?
Maybe.
Isn't this ironic joke? Yeah, that's a real grasp. Yeah.
But yeah, very creepy. So anyway, all three of these rich dudes, they died that night. And the Federal Reserve was created a year later. JP Morgan also cancelled his ticket on Titanic last minute. And that's not just let's push on to the Titanic, I'm going to cancel last minute. He actually had his own suite, like a presidential palace
It'd be quite
level
cool,
suite.
though, to have a framed Titanic ticket. That, like, you receive your ticket, then you cancel it, so, like, okay, it's no longer valid, but you can still have that framed on the wall. Would be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
He actually had, like, his own personalised suite. He had a bathtub with custom cigar holders in it.
Because that was his requirement.
Like a rider.
Only
I
read
suppose, yeah.
Eminem's kind of pop star level.
Maybe. Or just he liked smoking cigars in the bath, so his bathtub had cigar holders in it.
Okay,
so, like, it was like a proper JP Morgan suite, and he cancelled.
Okay. So how did he think it? We getting onto that?
Yeah, there are a few theories for that.
Yeah.
So, JP Morgan cancelled his ticket last minute, and apparently, according to a New York Times article, this goes against his theory. One of these guys that we discussed, he was actually in support of the Federal Reserve, and the other two can't find anything to say they're against it. So, to me, Federal Reserve theory is a little bit crap, to be fair.
Okay, just because the only fact is that one guy was against it.
No, one guy was for it, and the other two can't find anything to say that they're against it or for it.
Did I say
against? No, I think that's you.
I'm not sure. So the three guys,
There's three guys. The theory is that they're all opposed to the Federal Reserve.
but factually one
But
of them was
factually,
for
one of
it.
them was for it. According to actual newspaper articles that I seen it with my eyes. He'd
What the
wrote,
eyes did.
he'd written an article saying that he was in favour of it. Obviously, well prior to the
And the
Titanic
other two,
sinking.
you couldn't find any
other two,
evidence of.
no evidence of anything
Oh
at all.
man. Okay.
So,
So I was
again-
enjoying this until like that. There seems pretty.
And also, even
2
if
out of 10.
even if all three of them were against it, this is a dumb way to murder people.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the 700 people survived, and out of those 700 people,
No, but I think you just do it a different way if you're trying to murder 3
Yeah.
people. Yeah. Okay.
and also like out of those people that survived, if you're in first class, the likelihood of you surviving is way higher than if you're in like third class and then second class. Like
I'm not.
second
I
class.
can't even think of a single reason why I'd say 2 out of 10. And this feels like just a no.
Yeah, I think it's a no.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So we'll get on to the
I
most.
felt excited though. I feel like there was a reason I was excited.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because you've had too many.
Oh,
Tom
because of the
Hollands.
book. He read the book. That was exciting. The author died on it. That was all very cool,
yeah.
but not actually
Yeah,
related
not
to
a
him.
conspiracy, but
No.
very creepy at the
Yeah. So that was what got me excited and
Yeah.
upped my conspiracy dar to 2 out of 10 when it's actually it's a nah.
Yeah,
It's a
that one was a bit
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's probably even
Well,
worse.
we'll say
than
0.
that.
We'll say a 0 out of 10. Yeah, I'm just
Yeah,
not,
like the Mummy is probably more. Made
No,
more sense.
Yeah, the mummy was a 2 out of 10.
Yeah.
This one's a 0.
Yeah.
I'm not believing it. Right.
Crap way of murdering people.
Right.
So the third theory, and the most famous and the most in-depth one, is that the Titanic never sank.
Okay. Okay.
So I was surprised that you'd never
Was
heard of it.
Hitler on it?
No, I don't think. Oh, he might have been, but he'd have been quite an old fart by then.
Was Princess Diana?
She wasn't born yet.
Oh.
This was in 1912.
When was she born?
1950 something.
Okay, I can understand the difference.
No, 1960 something.
Even still,
We discussed this. Was it 1967?
it's okay. There's a lot
Anyway,
of dates been going around. Yeah.
The Titanic never sank. Mm-hmm. So his sister ship, the Olympic, did sink. Ooh.
yeah,
Yeah.
but we knew because they have in war times.
Oh yeah, no, I meant in place of it. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah. So the Olympic was launched about 1.5 years before the Titanic, and she was very nearly identical. So people go on a lot about the Titanic being the biggest ship of the time, and she was. But the thing is, this is only about 3 inches bigger than the Olympic.
It's purely just slapped a couple more on it to make it
Yeah.
bragging rights kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, she did actually. She was a lot more heavy. She had a lot more tonnage.
Yeah.
But in terms of like length and stuff, like to the eye,
Mass
yeah, no, not mass, like actual, just like length and stuff.
and stuff. Do you mean and width and height? Or
Yeah, but, like, doesn't mass
is it
also
just
mean
width?
weight? Whereas Titanic like was a lot weightier than Olympic, but
Well,
in
I'm trying to
terms of
work out what you mean by and stuff.
weight.
Weight.
So Titanic
weight.
was a lot heavier
And that's it. And
like 3 inches.
3 inches longer,
Yeah, longer.
but not wider or...
I'm not sure what wider, but I don't
Okay.
think that she was much wider
Okay, okay.
because they all fit into the same kind of like ports, so she couldn't have been that much wider.
Oh, okay. Well, it just depends if there's only one side they have to line up with, but all right, yep. What are you frowning at me? Like, you understand?
I understand. Like,
Yeah, cool, cool.
I've rowed a boat before.
You've rowing on a boat.
I've rowed at least one boat and a kayak.
Yeah. All right, Patrick.
Anyway, they're very nearly identical. In September 1911, so this is before Titanic sank.
Sorry, what?
In September,
9/11?
yes,
Okay, boom.
there you go. Conspiracy.
It's fact. Yeah.
Book closed. End of discussion.
End of podcast.
End of podcast.
Prove
It's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
No one knows who or why or how, but it's a conspiracy because we said September 1911.
It's not a conspiracy anymore. It's 9/11, so it's a fact.
Yeah, fact.
Is that one of our podcasts in this season?
I'm not telling you.
Okay.
September 1911. Olympic was involved.
Oh,
What?
1911. So not September the 11th.
No.
Okay, my mistake. Yeah, it's back to being a conspiracy.
Shut up, Patrick. The Olympic was involved in a crash with another ship, HMS Hawke, who was a warship. So not far off the shores of Southampton this happened, and because it was a warship, the Hawk was found to be not guilty. I don't actually think they use the term not guilty when it comes to shipwreck.
Nautical accidents.
The Hawk was found non-responsible. That's the word I was looking for.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. So the Olympic was responsible for this. Now, apparently, a lot of people, a lot of witnesses said that Olympic wasn't actually responsible, but this was the Hawk was a warship, and they just got bullied into it being the Hawk being not responsible. I don't know that.
Military versus peasants. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Excuse me.
As you call them.
Yeah. Still getting over a cold.
Yeah.
So Olympic was found to be to blame, and the insurers, Lloyd's of London, they weren't going to pay out the insurance costs for the Olympic. And remember, at this point in time, Olympic was quite a new ship. She'd been in service less than a year.
Yeah, and big.
And
about
big.
3 inches smaller than Titanic.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Patrick. So the repairs to the Olympic were going to be quite expensive. The keel was bent, and it had because of that, it had a permanent list to the side, and a whole bunch of other sort of like internal stuff, and obviously the external side where the Hawk had bumped into it needed like a whole lot of stuff doing to it.
Mm-hmm. So is the crash a fact?
Oh yeah. Sorry, the crash is a fact.
The Hawk vs Olympic crash happened.
Yes,
right,
that is fact.
Right.
So there's a lot of expensive repairs coming up, and Titanic hasn't even been launched at this point. So it means that they're going to have like one ship down, and the other one hasn't been launched yet, and also they've got all this money to pay out because the Olympic was found to be at fault. So it made, apparently, and this is where we get into the conspiracy side.
So you insure the Titanic for more than it's worth and then crash it.
Close.
Okay.
Very close.
Yeah.
So the Titanic was already insured for the cost of nearly a full ship.
Yeah.
Which is still more than a ship that can't have the insurance paid out.
Yeah. Okay. So you're insuring the Titanic for what it's worth.
Yeah.
But then you skimp out on stuff because it's not quite launched yet. You remove as much as you can, maybe make it a little more vulnerable to icebergs, and sink it and claim it.
Ooh, close but no cigar.
Oh man, I'm trying.
Yeah, you are. You're very trying.
Yeah.
No, they actually switched out the Titanic in quotation marks with the Olympic and sunk the Olympic.
Oh, that makes far more sense.
It does make more sense, yeah.
Just name change. Yeah.
So it made more sense to switch the two
Change
ships
the license
out
plate.
because exactly. They looked very similar. So they switched them out so they
You can't measure a ship that's cracked in half. Well, it's been. Did the Titanic crack in half? I'm assuming not. It did crack in half.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you know that?
No, I just said I assumed it didn't because.
No, it did. And that was actually a bone of contention for many years. Witnesses said that it cracked in half, and people kept saying that's impossible. And it wasn't until the wreck was found in what year did I say, 85, that they actually realised, yeah, it did crack in half, and the two halves were found like miles apart from each other.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was just saying. I was going to say cracked in half because it was like, well, that can't have happened because it crashed like hit the iceberg. I'm assuming at the front. No, but it didn't.
No, on the side.
It scraped it on the side. Yeah. Okay, which could have caused sinking, which could have caused cracking in half. Which, because I'm going to say if it's still together, you can measure it to find out the 3-inch difference. But okay, I'm liking this one so far.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it made more sense to switch the two ships so they could collect the insurance on the new ship because they couldn't collect insurance in the Olympic.
New ship quotation marks. By new ship, you mean the ship that was already damaged by the Hawk.
Yeah, but
Yep.
according to the insurers, it would be the new ship, which was still insurable. So you couldn't get the insurance payout on the Olympic.
Okay.
So they're like, oh yeah, we're just going to just repair the Olympic, and we're sending out the Titanic disguised as the Olympic because remember they're very similar looking, almost. In fact, sorry, excuse me, I am getting over a cold. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They're so similar looking that in promotional material, because Olympic, if you remember, I said had been released for at least a year before Titanic.
Yeah.
In promotional materials,
It's the exact same photo.
or they use promotional photos from the Olympic to actually advertise the Titanic,
Because you can't tell the difference. Okay. Yeah. No.
I mean,
cool.
there are differences, but also
I work in the industry. I do that, so all good. Yeah.
But also, it actually made trying to fact check this a little bit difficult because it's known, and it's not a conspiracy. It's known that they used photos from the Olympic to showcase the Titanic.
And so, if anyone used those photos as reference to, is this a Titanic or
Like
the
you don't.
Olympic?
It's hard to know.
Or is your reference point the Titanic or the Olympic?
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
Hard to
Okay.
tell because they're like, this is the Olympic. Oh no, sorry, this is the Titanic, but it's actually the Olympic, and it's
I'm really liking this one, aside from the fact of bad publicity, would it have offset the cost of how much extra you would have got? But
that's very true.
I don't know that math. So
And
at
that
the
is-
moment, I feel like I'm sitting on a 4 out of 10 on this one.
That is the downside to it.
Yeah,
I'll admit that right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
So they send out the Olympic sort of like semi-patched up. So they did actually send the Olympic back to Belfast to get patched up. And a little while later, they sent out the Titanic on her maiden voyage.
And by
which I-
Titanic, you mean Olympic with a new paint job?
possibly Olympic with
Yeah.
a new paint job and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like this one so far.
Cool. Yeah. So the Olympic is patched up, and this is a matter of public record.
Mm-hmm.
And they have some bits switched over. That's not public record, obviously. There's some bits switched over to make it look like the Titanic. Obviously, they've got nameplates. They've got
The painting on the side.
quite a bit of stuff.
Scrape off the serial number, chuck on a new one, we're good to go.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
And the theory is,
I don't know enough about this to prove this wrong, but it sounds good.
we'll get into some of that technical stuff in a bit.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So this is just like the outline of the theory. And the plan was that everyone obviously thinks it's the Titanic, and that they are sent out to meet at a rendezvous point in the Atlantic so that the other another ship owned by the White Star Line, could collect all the passengers. So Titanic was going to sink possibly by opening the seacocks on the way to do it like a controlled flooding, so that open at a certain point, and by the time they get to the rendezvous point, it would be overcome.
So, sorry, just to check. So they reckon that another ship was sent there to save,
Yes,
British
and-
money. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Okay.
Because if it's a planned crash, you don't actually want 1,500 people to die.
Yeah, but you don't. So in this situation,
This
these
is
people still don't know that their ship is going to quote sink.
Correct.
Quote.
Yeah, correct.
But they've got a ship there to save them. So it.
Yeah, the ship's just going to.
And so they were saved within 2 hours. You said earlier, right?
Yes.
Is that
But
feasible, factual? Is that coming up?
we'll get to that.
Okay.
I know you hate it when I say that, but we'll get to that.
That's all right. No.
Yeah. So the theory is that they were going to meet at a rendezvous point, possibly by opening the seacocks on the way to do a controlled flooding. But hitting the iceberg actually happened, according to the theory, but was not planned. And that's why it all got fucked up, and that's why the people died. So they hit an iceberg on...
And I can understand the captain, say, kind of not giving a shit, knowing he's about to fake sink the ship. Maybe he's wondering about doing that and make sure he's safe while he does that, or just being distracted and kind of not giving a shit about crashing because he knows he's about to crash, if you know what I mean. So okay, I'm liking this one. Yeah,
Could be. Yeah. So the iceberg was something that they didn't foresee happening, and that was a genuine accident.
Okay.
I mean, there is one book, and it's a book that is quite famous, but I don't think this theory particularly holds much water. No pun intended. That says that they actually hit one of the waiting rescue boats had its lights off, but I don't think there's anything to that.
Okay.
So they hit an iceberg, not a rescue ship. They hit an iceberg on the way to the rendezvous ship by accident, and that's why the stuff that we're about to get into with the Californian happened. But just before we get to that, some passengers reported hearing explosions, etc., below deck before they escaped. So sorry, you're saying whoa.
No, I was saying, whoa, like I don't even know what the Californian is.
Okay, so the Californian is another ship.
Right.
Yeah. So the
A save the people from the Titanic kind of ship?
it is, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not the one that saved the people from the Titanic.
There's some facts. I'm not at the moment. I'm really enjoying this conspiracy, like this one. And I'm for those who listened to the last 3 episodes, I've been struggling to.
You like the Princess Diana one?
Oh no, that was a good one actually. But sorry, the last 2 then I've been like, not so much. But this one so far, I'm riding that, and I feel like there's some facts to come. So I won't question it. I'll wait to hear these facts and points, and I'll bring them up at the end. So yeah, carry on.
Okay, cool. So we'll get on to the SS Californian. So the Californian was a ship that was also run by IMM.
Okay.
Yeah.
Loving it. Yeah.
So the Californian is, I mean, if you have heard of it, it's mainly renowned for having been the closest ship to the Titanic that night and completely abandoning it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
It apparently ignored the distress calls, and the operator just like went to bed and ignored its flares, etc. The theory goes that the California was sent out to the rendezvous point to get the passengers safely on board, but due to the fact that they were waiting at a location over 13 miles away, because the Titanic hit an iceberg before it got to the rendezvous point because the iceberg was unexpected. They didn't actually realise the signals were from the Titanic, and they were waiting for a ship to actually meet them at the rendezvous point. So they're ignoring the signals from this other ship because, like,
they've got another rendezvous coming
yeah,
up that they
like
have to
we've
meet.
got a way bigger agenda.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they didn't realise that the signals were of the Titanic, so they ignored them, and they're waiting for the Titanic signals as instructed. So the captain, Stanley Lord,
Or he could have been in bed. No, but I assume there's more than one person. I assume. Well,
yes, there is more than one person.
on a ship, right? And so
Many
is
more.
there someone manning the? I assume there's someone like if a ship's dead in the water, just in the whole crew's asleep. Sorry, is the whole crew asleep? Do you know? Like,
They're
or is
not
there
all
al-
asleep. So quite a
There's
lot of them are
always
asleep.
someone-
So
there's
the
always
the
a pilot.
official line is that
Yeah.
because they just like steamed out to the middle of this like area in the North Atlantic, and apparently they just like stopped because there's too much ice to go through. So they just like decided to stop for the night.
and wait for the daylight.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
that's
like,
a
a
good
lo-
reason.
yeah.
And so if you're stationary, I assume the damage an iceberg can do to you if you're not moving is pretty minimal, and
would-
it's pretty safe for the whole crew to go to sleep.
I would assume it's minimal, but there obviously was lookouts and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, not paying attention. Maybe the person's not on the radio. Okay.
Yeah, it's alright. Maybe you should just like listen.
I'm trying. I'm just.
Are you
every,
feeling antsy?
No, every time you give me a fact, I'm just trying to check myself and find out whereabouts how I feel about it.
Okay.
And so for this whole conspiracy, I'm loving it. Like, I'm on board. I'm Princess Diana in that.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So the captain. Sorry, excuse me.
The golem.
Sorry, I'm still getting over a cold.
You say that like 3 or 4 times.
I'm just apologising. It's called being polite.
Just say sorry and carry on.
Sorry for saying sorry. Stanley Lord. He was absolutely eviscerated in the press after the sinking of the Titanic. Like
Sorry, Stanley Lord is the
captain
California.
of the Californian.
Right.
Yeah. So he was just
Is his last name Lord?
yeah.
Okay.
Completely eviscerated in the press, and they thought that because of his inaction, if he had have like actually paid attention, they could have saved many more lives, if not all of them, because this was apparently somewhere between 13 to 20 miles away from the Titanic. And the Carpathia, which is the one that actually saved like more than 700 people, was 60 miles away, and she turned up and saved like more than 700 people. So they could have turned up, been only like
From a collective of 2,024 people.
possibly.
Right.
Yeah. So he was eviscerated in the press. He lost his job. He died sad and alone in his 80s at some point in the 20th century. Very
Okay.
sad.
Yeah. But I mean, but if he like so, as far as the conspiracy goes,
I'm like a quarter of the way through that one.
okay, I'll keep quiet. We'll keep.
Yeah, hold that thought.
Yeah.
So he was eviscerated in the press. But in the immediate aftermath, Captain Lord, he also said, when questioned many times, that his exact coordinates at night, and this is public record, were a state secret. But all the crew, apart from him, had very corroborating testimony and said that they woke him twice in the night about the flares that they'd seen, and he said to ignore them. And the only question he asked about them was asking what colour they were. But then after that, he's like, ignore them, they're just partying. So that sounds like he knew that there was something going on, but the crew didn't.
Yeah. So, did the Titanic have fireworks?
They had flares.
Did you know if they had fireworks? Don't know.
I don't know how to fireworks.
Because so his argument, as in they're just partying.
Yeah, so
Did ships carry fireworks as like letting off flares or fireworks as a sign of celebration? Pretty standard at that time. Can you prove, or do you know if the Titanic did or did not have Fireworks.
I don't know if they had fireworks. No, fireworks must have been a thing. But I imagine a ship wouldn't carry fireworks. But I assume, and I can Google this later, that sometimes they might like be partying and like let off a flare because it's like pretty. Because I think, and again, this is not fact, I'm just assuming flares have to be set off in a certain sequence to mean SOS.
Or maybe not. Maybe just a certain colour. And so like, hey, look, if you see a blue flare, look, that's not an emergency. That's just...
Well, then why would you have different colour flares?
For celebration versus SOS.
Right.
Yeah, so maybe that's why he was asking it, because...
But then if that was a known thing,
fact.
then
Yeah.
his crew would know. It's like
no,
this,
but
that they'd know that it's like that's just a celebration flare.
No, fair enough. That knocks back my on boardness of this conspiracy a little bit, because
No,
I agree. Yeah.
I think that it just means that the captain, who was a captain, he actually knew you keep the crew, because like the worst thing for keeping a secret is telling people. So why would you tell your crew? You wouldn't. You just be like, oh, we're just doing this thing, and he knows.
Yeah, no.
And the crew don't.
So that, like all that I like the idea that only the captain knows. And we're going out here, and look, you're going to be paid, and the crew doesn't give a shit because they're getting paid,
okay.
and so they sit at the middle of nowhere, and they don't give a shit because they're getting paid, and then they report seeing flares going off, and the captain goes, look, what colour is it? Like,
Yeah.
but, and he kind of knows, but also maybe the Titanic had, instead of it being the normal flares, like we're going to let off like red celebration, blue is distress, yellow is our colour flares for come save the Titanic. And so maybe that was just those flare colours were the code they were going to use for come save us. And if it was anything other than yellow, he was like, nah, don't worry about it, because it's either an SOS, which I'm a bit of a piece of shit for ignoring that, because I'm waiting for the one that publicly is going to get me the attention. So he should have...
just the one that he was ordered to pay attention to.
Yeah. Or it was the celebration one. So, okay. That was just me trying to come up with a reason, a justification.
And there is a theory that he was
Yeah.
waiting for a specific colour code
Yeah.
before he took any action. And remember, they were a while away from where the rendezvous point was. So he's like looking in the entirely wrong direction, thinking that this ship that's setting off these flares is not actually in the location he's expecting to see the rendezvous point.
Yeah.
And that's a matter of just historic fact.
Well, he was asleep and he said crew woke him up and it was the wrong colour, so he's
the wrong colour.
Just fucking don't worry about it. Yeah.
And also the fact that the Titanic, according to historic fact, was 13 miles away from where the last coordinates they sent out as the SOS was. He was looking in the wrong place for it.
Right. Yeah.
And he said that the coordinates he was actually at, matter of state secret. And that's not a conspiracy, that's actual part of the...
And there's no more to that state secretness. Like, there's no reason why it should be a state secret. Like,
No, he doesn't.
Like, in the years to come, it hasn't been a...
No, it hasn't been expanded on.
Okay. So it makes it... Okay.
So I'll continue with that one.
Yeah.
Yep. So he said to ignore the flares after asking what colour they were. The Californian, the ship, was carrying no passengers that night. That's a matter of public record. Some people claim, and this is not a matter of public record, some people claim that the cargo was only blankets and jumpers, as if they're preparing for something. However, I looked into this and spent a long time trying to find any evidence, but actually the cargo manifest had not been logged, so there's no way of knowing what or wasn't on the cargo manifest.
As in you found evidence that the cargo manifest was not logged, or you could not find evidence?
The cargo manifest was not logged, so I couldn't find evidence that it was the blankets and jumpers that some people say it was.
Is it standard practice to not log the cargo manifest?
No,
at that time?
It should be standard practice, but I imagine back in this time, it's probably not overly
So that's what I mean.
weird.
At that time, is it pretty common practice to not log your cargo?
I don't think it was that weird.
Okay, you feel that's pretty common to not log what your cargo
But
is?
I also imagine that most good ships should have. And also there's some like weird stuff with the log and things. The ship log.
As in, we're getting into that?
No, not really.
What
Like
kind of weird stuff?
there's too much to go into it. Like,
Just
so there's like two types apparently, and this is all going from the top of my head now because I didn't take notes on this. Apparently, there's two types of logs that you take on a ship back in
I
this
think
time.
it's quality how you clarify your facts versus suspicion versus top of your head. Sorry, good job. Carry
Thank
on.
you.
Yeah.
So apparently, like the ship's log gets put into an official record, and then there's your scratch log, which is like your notes and stuff from the day. And the scratch logs had not been done, and the ship's log, the official ship's log, contained no evidence. Oh, not no evidence. The evidence is the wrong word. The ship's log contained no mention of the fact that they'd seen any of these flares or an SOS call from the Titanic, but according to all the crew members, they'd seen the flares. So,
But no one logged it.
But no one logged it, which is
Okay.
unusual because you'd log anything.
So when it comes to log, is it? I don't know enough about nautical
so you'd
procedure.
log-
Is it only the captain that does it, or can anyone keep a log?
I'm not sure about that. I'll be honest.
Okay.
But I think a log is you.
So when you say the log, I assume there is an official ship's log, not every
Yeah, there is an
individual.
official ship's log. I don't know who does. I don't know. I know the captain does it. I don't know if other people can add to it.
Right.
But also from what I know of it, it's
But I
like
assume if the captain's asleep, someone else can modify the log.
yeah, I would assume so.
You'd assume so. Right?
Yeah.
That
Or
makes a
maybe
lot of
that's
sense,
where
yeah.
the scratch log comes in. Like they log it and then he
Goes through and approves
puts
it.
in anything that's.
And so,
then that's just
what did the scratch
hypothesizing.
log say? No record of flares either.
Yeah, there's no record of any of these flares and stuff. But all the crew said that it happened. So, but there's no log in it. And
So when
apparently
you
a
say
log.
all the crew says it happened, where did you find evidence of that?
Oh, this is all in the I'm trying to find the exact word for it. Not the Inquisition, the Inquiry. Yeah.
Which is a newspaper, is it?
Yeah, and legal websites and stuff. The Inquiry.
Okay,
So,
but verbal record,
Yeah.
and that same source also says no scratch log.
yes. Yeah, so there's no
Okay,
scratch log.
Okay.
And no captain log. And apparently the captain's log is like, you just note things down that are not even that interesting, like your weather conditions and stuff at the time. So like if you saw flares, that's the kind of thing that apparently you would write down.
Man, my skeptical mind is loving the counterfacts, the lack of fuel to disprove this one. Okay.
Oh, this is just about the Californians, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, apparently they were just carrying blankets and jumpers, like we said. Couldn't find any evidence that was true, but they didn't have a cargo manifest. Ultimately, it was a captain that the captain of the Carpathia that was
Which is another ship, I'm assuming.
another ship.
Yeah.
He got like a whole bunch of like medals and stuff because the Carpathia, which was over 60 miles away, that turned up and rescued the survivors. And Captain Lord, he was an outcast for the rest of his life.
Right.
Yeah. So very sad for Captain Lord, but also not because he possibly ignored things.
If it wasn't a conspiracy, he was a piece of shit.
Yes, however,
Well, if it was a conspiracy, he was a piece of shit.
He was guilty of negligence, but it wasn't. It wasn't until the actual wreck of the Titanic was, and this is just if we go on the official version, right?
Yeah.
So if we pretend the official version completely true,
If we believe the man.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's not true.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the actual wreck was found in the, was it 1905? I said that they actually realised
A long time later. Yeah.
he was kind of telling the truth because the Titanic was 13 miles away from its last coordinates, and he was saying that he was this far away and stuff, and other people were saying that he wasn't, but he was that far away. He was ages away. He was like that far away plus the other 13 miles. So he was saying, no, I couldn't see you because it was like ages away, and everyone was saying, no, he's a liar. But he's actually like correct because it was even further 30 miles away from what everyone had said.
So sorry, are you clarifying that are you backing him in his argument?
I'm backing him in the official line. So if it was just going to go with the official line, he spent the rest of his entire life trying to clear his name. He was saying he was too far away to do anything, and he was too far away to be sure that it was the Titanic. He didn't know what ship it was. He was saying that.
So when it comes to crew that argue with him, is it like every single crew member argues with him? Your cat's molesting the shit out of my leg. But sorry, carry on. You've been a real floozy.
Do you have cheese on you?
Well, I don't, but I can cut some for her because I might have to because she's getting quite aggressive.
No, so his whole crew were like very forthright in the inquiry, and he kept changing his story, and he was like vague, changed his story multiple times, but the crew was just like, oh yeah, this is what happened, this is what happened. So he was
Changing story. I'm not actually that skeptical on. The human memory is pretty flawed. So
the human memory is flawed, but it is a bit suspicious. The crew is like, this happened, and he kept changing his story and being quite vague.
Okay.
I didn't write all of it down because it would have been too much. Like the transcripts are like this long. Gesticulating.
From reading it, how do you feel about?
He was being dodged, but it could have, if I'm going to be completely like unbiased,
It could just be human error.
It could have been just trying to say, "Hey, baby." He could have been trying to save his own skin.
For those wondering what the random "Hey, baby" was about, that's because the cat has shifted its molestation.
She's beautiful, my beautiful beans.
I've got some cheese for her. Come here.
Go see, he's got some cheese, my love.
Come on.
Go see.
No, stop complaining. You're ruining the podcast. Come here.
She's not. She's making it better.
Do you want to do it? Just change the whole podcast to cats.
Just cats.
A cat-based podcast.
Sweetie,
I wonder if one exists. We might have found our niche there. No, come here. Look, here. I'll just throw the cheese at you. There you go. Yeah, sorted.
Just throw a chunk of cheese at her head. It's nice brie. It's from Vitro. You love that shop. What was I saying?
No,
yeah.
Carry on. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, the crew had pretty much one standard story, and his was like kept chopping and changing.
That's kind of weird that the whole crew has an opposing view to him.
I mean, if you're going to assume that it is a conspiracy, that makes sense because you're not going to tell the whole crew.
Yeah.
And the whole like, it's a state secret where my coordinates were. That doesn't make any sense.
And so I guess that's the good point, that like him having such an opposing view to the rest of the crew gives fuel to that conspiracy. But okay, yeah, it's essentially agreeing exactly with what you just said. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that was the Californian aspect, and I think that's very unusual.
So we've been dwelling on that topic for a little while now. What was the whole reason behind that? Oh, the insurance write-off.
Yeah, we're still going through all that. Like that was just
there's more to come from that?
Yeah, that's just one aspect. That was the Californian aspect.
Right, okay.
So,
yeah. So at the moment, I'm feeling 7 out of 10 on this.
Wow.
Like, I'm feeling pretty good.
That's big old, yeah.
Yeah.
Holy shit, she just ate all that brie.
Focus. Look at your notes.
Like
Carry on.
8 seconds.
Yeah.
So one of the other unusual things was the first newspaper reports. So the first reports were stating that the Titanic had struck an iceberg, correct, obviously, but was being towed to port and that all passengers were safe. This is a matter of public record. Multiple newspapers were reporting that...
Don't worry, be happy.
Yeah, no one had died and that Titanic itself had struck an iceberg but was being towed to port. All goodsies, right?
Yeah.
And this was not correct at all. People had died, bro.
No, but but I'm picturing the media company going, no, look, don't worry about it. Everyone's fine. Shit, we need some time to come up with a good story.
Well, the thing is, it was White Star and IMM officials themselves that were reporting this, that it was all good. Mm-hmm. Like, why would you do that unless you actually knew that everyone was good? Because going back in your word...
No, because you're struggling to come up with a story...
So you make up the fact that it'd gone towed to port? No, you wouldn't do that. You just be like,
no, but like you
no comment.
So I'm trying to be the dickhead here, where you go.
You do well at that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So you go, look, media person, we're going to throw you under the bus. Just say everyone's fine, everything's all good. Don't worry, be happy. Because we need some more time to come up with this. Look, you get disproven very quickly. But you'll keep your job, don't worry about it. Here's a bonus for just saying, don't worry, be happy. Well, because we need some time to come up with explaining how the heck this happened so it doesn't destroy our shares.
They didn't. Well, I mean,
destroy our image, sorry. Yeah.
I think that's suspect.
You think what suspect?
The fact that White Star was saying to the media that this Titanic was fine and everyone was fine and was getting towed to port at this point in time when no one actually knew, because that feels like they'd released a statement to media before knowing what happened because they expected something to happen that didn't actually happen. Because if you remember back to the theory that we're going with, they were planning on a controlled sinking and iceberg thing was unexpected, so they didn't actually think that anything bad was going to happen. Like,
No.
they're just going to have a controlled sinking.
So, but if they had a controlled sinking, so to jump back to that one, so in this controlled sinking situation, they have everyone change ship to the Olympic,
No, to the Californian.
to the Californian.
Yep.
And the Olympic, which now looks like the Titanic, sinks.
Yep, sinks, or at least is mounted
Damaged.
enough to have a full insurance payout.
So why would you in this fake insurance situation, the quotation Titanic has been towed back to port,
Yeah.
and that's the pre-organized.
Well,
You're just chucking fuel on and believing this conspiracy, aren't you?
I am sorry. I can't help it. I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
this is a matter of public record. There's newspapers. I saw them with my
Damn, for such a
eyes.
skeptic, this podcast is ruining me.
Like.
Well,
it
sorry,
just-
I believe Diana. I don't believe the last two. So this one, I feel like I'm on board so far. Yeah,
It feels like they released a
feels
statement
good.
that
Well, not good. Sorry,
because
Karen.
that's what they thought was happening.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until actually later on they realized, oh shit, bro, people actually did die because
Yeah,
things
yeah.
don't go according to plan.
Yeah.
So you can actually on the internet and through microfiche and stuff, you can view all these newspapers
through what?
like old newspapers and stuff.
Microfiche.
Yeah, microfiche.
Fiche.
Yeah,
Is that a source of old newspapers?
yeah.
Is that a website?
No, you can usually access it through your library.
But it's the source if anyone wants to fact check you, they through microfiche.
It's just a way of like logging old newspapers online, or
Okay.
not even online. Like microfiche was around before the internet, but it's like a way of doing it on small. Like the microfiche is I think it's a kind of camera, isn't it? It's like on a film, and you have to like put it in a viewer, and you can see the old newspapers, but you don't want to keep all these old newspapers, so you pull it like on a film type thing.
No, okay, I know the view
Yeah.
you mean because I've seen it in movies, but I didn't know that was the name of it.
We've got one in the Plymouth Library.
Yeah,
like for local
yeah.
ones.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, you can see all copies of newspapers online. This is actually a fact that they were reporting that the Titanic hadn't sunk.
Through the magic of clever editing, no one will notice that we just managed to pause the podcast just then.
Yeah,
And
hopefully.
yeah, hopefully. But that also statement lets me cover up the poor edit, or also clarify that I'm really freaking wankered.
He enjoyed the Tom Collins.
I like the Tom Collins. I'm
He
on
did.
number 4 plus a glass of wine and a ginger beer.
Yeah, non-alcoholic ginger beer. Just
normal
a ginger beer.
That's how I started the night. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
we party hard here over at the Tim Ford Tavern. So is that suspicious that they reported that the Titanic was fine? Everyone was fine.
So the skeptic in me and the drunk in me wants to go, oh, look, they had the preloaded media release ready to go. This is what we're going to say. Boom, cool, post it. And then they find out the actual facts and go, that's not what we planned. Holy shit.
Well, I mean, I'm a massive skeptic, but also, why would you, like, just say, all this is above board? Why would you release saying the Titanic was being
Right. So
dragged to port when you don't actually know that? And
so you
everyone's
have
fine?
time to come up with a better cover story than we just would need.
But then it came out, there's no cover story, because then it came out that the Titanic sank and it never was shipped to port, because like no ships even got to it before it was sunk. It was like entirely sunk before any ships got to it.
What? They're just like, maybe this is relatively new in the age of mass cruise ship crashes. Is it? Well, I would assume so, eh? And like the Titanic.
I mean,
if you think of mass cruise ship crashes, I can think of 2.
which other one?
That more recent one where that captain jumped ship first,
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
that was called.
Yeah.
So that one and the Titanic, like that's all I can think of. And so maybe
This is back before like the planes.
this is
So this is the way to get across the Atlantic.
this is really early days, and maybe when
well,
it comes
it's
to
not early days. Cruise ships have been around for ages before. Well,
no,
not cruise
it's like,
ships.
I mean early days as in
Passenger ships.
humans have fucked up. How do we cover this for publicity reasons?
Okay, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, it's early days and cover stories when it comes to a cruise ship industry, right? We can accept that.
We can accept
And
that.
so maybe they go, just tell everyone that something's happened, but everything's fine. Well, I don't know what to do. Just say it. And they've panicked and said something, which is what they initially released.
It just seems like a bad idea.
Yeah. From our point in 2022.
I mean, it is known that when things happen, like on a big scale, there's a lot of like misinformation at the start. But saying White Star actually saying, "Oh yeah, the Titanic's totes fine." Well, not totes fine, but it's being towed to port. Everyone's fine. Is quite out of the gate.
Yeah, and like saying that because that's what you planned to have happen. You had that preloaded, and we're just following the script.
That's what you're gonna do.
Or that this wasn't planned, but. Okay.
Yeah,
Let's hear some more facts. Right.
All right, so the rest of the facts, unfortunately, get a little more fuzzy from this point on.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the moment, like I said, 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Like I'm really like, this sounds more believable than not. Right.
So there is it's not a testimony because he was never in court, but there is the sayings, the word of one James Fenton, aka Paddy the Pig.
Why aka Paddy the Pig?
That's a nickname, apparently.
Okay.
Yeah. So in 1961, a letter was written to an Australian newspaper that was written by a Frank Finch, whose father, Dennis Finch, was a friend of the aforementioned James Fenton, aka Paddy the Pig.
So a friend of a friend said...
Son of a friend.
Okay,
yeah.
Son of a friend, yeah.
So apparently, Dennis was a friend and colleague of James Fenton. And apparently, James had been maintaining for many years that he had been a crew member of the Titanic. And he also claimed that it was sunk on purpose, not by an...
Sorry, fact or fuzzy about him being a member of the Titanic?
So the letter to the newspaper is true. The facts I cannot verify.
Once again, because just so much stuff about what was on the ship at the time is just not a big, like not the highest of importance. Right.
Yeah. Okay. So this old James Fenton, Paddy the Pig, he was saying to this dude, and from what I can tell, James Fenton did exist. Dennis Finch did exist, and they did work together on a ship called the what was it called, the Kulig or something. That's all seems to be true. The unverifiable facts, obviously, is the bit where James says that he worked on a Titanic. He was never listed as a crew member. However, as we discovered, the crew and the passenger list is like at least a couple of hundred people wrong. Like, no one knows. So he's not listed on the crew passenger list. The crew list, sorry.
This point of the conspiracy you're stating is quite fuzzy as far as information goes. Not as far as factualness goes, but as far as just information goes.
So James is not on the crew list, but
the crew list is also a fuzzy fact.
Well, the crew and passenger list.
It's a fuzzy fact.
It's fuzzy,
yeah.
But that goes against him that he wasn't on the crew list.
Yeah.
So and the rest of this is just his hearsay. So apparently James had been saying for years that he had been on the Titanic as a crew member, and he claimed that it was sunk not just by an iceberg, but also, and we'll get into this in a bit, so like don't interrupt, also by a coal fire that had been burning since before departure. And when the Titanic hit the iceberg didn't itself do enough damage to sink it, but it was when the ice cold water hit the long burning coal fire that an explosion happened below deck, and that actually caused the damage that would cause it to sink.
Right. So sorry, never mind. Carry on.
No, you can go.
No, I'm too many drinks in to remember what I was about to say. Carry on. Yeah.
He also maintained that there were rumours circulating amongst the crew before they left that there was an insurance scam going on, and that the ship was switched before they left. So
that's what I was going to say. The Olympic, the original ship that crashed with the Hawk.
Yep.
That is a fact that crash happened.
Yes, that's correct.
And it is a fact that insurance would not pay out.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Correct.
Cool. Carry on.
Yep.
Yeah.
So James Fenton, if he was on the Titanic, he survived. If he wasn't on the Titanic, we don't know that, and lived a long, full life. And he said that the crew after that were met by two officials who read them the Official Secrets Act and said that if anyone spoke about or whispered about a scam or rumours about a scam, that they would be chucked in jail and would never work again.
The Official Secrets Act.
Yes, that seems suspect to me. As in,
Like
like
the fact that he
against
said that?
James, like, yeah, like, that's not part of the official... That's, if it's an insurance scam, that's not about the Official Secrets Act.
Like, the Official Secrets Act makes it sound like there is official policy that's law-abiding that you can go to court for breaking the Official Secrets
Like, it's
Act.
against some kind of, like...
Where you feel like the Official Secrets Act is actually just a word on the street that there's more like a threat from a very intimidating individual that says, if you say anything about this, your life's over.
Yeah.
And
But
he's got a
I think
massive
his
bat with a couple of
meaning
nails
is that
sticking out of it.
they had a lot of high-ups, like, people who are very high up in the government, probably, like, paid some guys to do this.
And we're also now in 2022, so there are quotation Official Secrets Act that fact might have been a little bit fuzzied over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
However, as we said, James, not on the official crew list,
Yeah.
but he did exist. His friend existed. The ship that apparently they both worked on together existed, and they both worked on that ship at about the same time. So, but also, like, what he said about that, we can't verify.
Yeah. Fuzzy fact. I think maybe because you said that was a fuzzy fact before we went into it. I'm not feeling that it's swayed my view either more or less in either direction.
Yeah.
No.
So one of the other physical, and I say that
Page
with
58.
quotation marks, one of the other physical pieces of evidence that the Titanic was actually Olympic, or vice versa, were the portholes. So,
Sorry, 2 secs. Is this the most believable conspiracy?
yes.
Okay. I was like,
Is it not believable for you?
No, it is. I was
It is a
just
conspiracy
freaking
podcast.
out that there was another even more so believable one than this.
What, more so than the Mummy?
No, yeah, mate. Yeah, no, more believable than this one.
You know, like The Mummy and The Mummy Returns with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. Like one of my favourite movies of all time.
Yeah, but what about if you chuck, say, Tom Cruise into that?
Fuck no.
So boom.
We don't talk about that. A bit like how we don't talk about Jurassic Park 3.
But because so far we've had the Mummy and the insurance.
Mummy Returns.
No, the Mummy Conspiracy.
Oh, right.
And
Sorry.
the insurance write-off.
Yes.
And I was wondering if there was going to be...
No. We also had the JP Morgan killed off his rivals in between.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've had those three. Oh, right.
No, we
I
had
forgot
those
about
two,
JP Morgan.
and we're still on the third at the moment.
No, I felt like there should be at least three. So if this
There is
number
three. There's just three. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Right, yeah.
So evidence that they were switched also includes the portholes. So Titanic had 14 portholes on sea deck. Olympic had 16. And Olympic...
The Titanic had less, even though it was 3 inches longer.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know anything about boat construction. Okay, yeah.
So we'll get back to that in a bit because that actually goes against the conspiracy.
Okay.
Unfortunately, sorry. I know you're like really digging this.
No, I'm open-minded.
And the Olympics portholes were unevenly spaced, whereas the Titanic's were evenly spaced. But by the time the Titanic sailed, the Titanic had 16 portholes in photos from when it left.
So, sorry, let me jump back a little bit.
Yeah.
Right, this is the downfall of this podcast, is me drinking and struggle to understand facts. So,
And also just that you're a Patrick.
Yeah, double up. So the Olympic had how many?
The Olympic had 16.
And the Titanic had...
14 when it was in dry dock.
And the photos of when the Titanic left says
Had
it had...
16.
But it's also a known fact that they used a lot of Olympic photos to promote the Titanic.
That's right. So
Right.
apparently these are photos from the actual Titanic launch. Again, it's hard to say because a lot of the photos were like...
Right, yeah. I do remember that fact. Yeah.
So the photo...
Because they were very similar looking ships.
Yeah, and a lot of the Olympic photos were used for Titanic... what's that word you... Media.
Promotion.
Yeah, promotion.
Yeah.
So that was really hard for me to fact check.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
But apparently,
That's fine. Yeah.
Titanic had 14 on sea deck, and the Olympic had 16 on the sea deck, and the Titanics were evenly spaced, but the Olympics were unevenly spaced. And if you look at photos of apparently, I'm saying this in quotation marks, Olympic and Titanic, you can see on the Titanic's launch that it was switched around. Or not switched around,
But you say quotation mark, and also at the same time, we've also established that they use a lot of Olympic photos from like the Titanic.
Yes,
We'll
but
double it up here,
apparently these photos are genuine because they're from the actual Titanic launch, from the actual day that it launched from the pier.
Like who published these photos? Like who released these photos?
There are a few photos from local media and family.
And they're all 16 portholes.
Yes, but also the angle of such. I should have saved some so you could like view them with your photographic mind, but I didn't.
But portholes are very easy to Photoshop.
Yeah, the unevenness isn't so much, and apparently the Titanic. Later on, they said.
Oh, I forgot about the evenness versus unevenness.
Yeah,
right.
so there's the number of them.
Yeah.
So apparently,
It's all easy to Photoshop, but yeah.
The Titanic did originally only have 14, but before it went to sail, it had 16 because they decided last minute to like add some.
I say Photoshop, but for those that listen to the moon landing episode, also in a darkroom sense, easy to replicate. To like Photoshop is the modern term for it, but like it's something like that is also very easy to fake it in a darkroom.
Oh crap! That's what I was going to do. I meant to save a couple of pictures to my phone before to show you at this point.
No, but just from photos.
No, not from that.
Yeah.
No, not apparently, because I actually see these with my eyes. One of the evidence that it was not Titanic is the fact that one of the photos of Titanic, the actual letters or the word Titanic written on the side of the ship, the letters don't line up with the windows compared to a secondary photo of when it actually launched. But apparently this is because the letters or the word Titanic wasn't very clear, so that the person who took the photo etched onto the
negative.
Yeah, the word Titanic. Is that something that happens? I mean, I imagine it is, but would you be able to tell? Probably not without seeing actually the raw data, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm skeptical on that one. I feel more inclined to believe that someone that wanted to cause this to be a conspiracy doubled some portholes, spaced some things out a little bit, like grabbed a whole heap and just shifted them over a little bit, like that kind of stuff. When it's for those that are Photoshop or darkroom wizards, it's not too hard if you have I'm picturing like a white surrounding here that has black little portholes on it, and you want to shift them over a little bit. And to shift a white surrounding onto a white surrounding is very easy to do because it looks exactly the same. So to shift them over a little bit and have this little bit of
yeah, but that's with your current...
No, but I just, from my conversations with the darkroom wizards, it...
Sorry.
From people that have won the highest of New Zealand photography awards using film, and I've seen and had conversations with them.
Do they wear robes?
No, they're not actually wizards.
I'm sorry, that's just what I was imagining.
No, sorry, but they are like the highest awarded photographers in existence.
Wait a sec, you got an award for... Are you a wizard?
Harry.
No, but like seriously, are you a wizard in like photography?
No, that's not an official title.
Oh, okay. Carry on.
It'd be cool if it was.
I assumed it was.
It would earn me so much credit with you.
I like, you know the KKK?
No, stop. You're sidetracking my facts here. So to do that quotation mark photoshoppery in a dark room from the people I know who are at the top of that level...
They're not called wizards.
That are not called wizards. That is still achievable to do in film. Film is not as honest as modern people hope it is.
Okay.
I'm
really disappointed they're not actually called wizards.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Other physical evidence, but also not...
Photographic evidence.
No, not photographic.
Okay.
Physical.
Yeah.
Apparently there's a list to the left. So multiple reports from passengers...
A list?
Yes, like leaned to the left.
The boat leaned to the left? Yeah.
So apparently multiple passengers wrote about this in their letters to the family, including one that is available for, or you can see it, like their family members made it public afterwards. A science teacher wrote about it.
The whole boat leaning to the left.
to the left quite a bad degree, like to the extent where if you look through the portholes, it was almost the horizon was almost like a diagonal. Is that the right word? Like on a slant. And also, and this is fact as well. So the Bruce Ismay, the captain, he ordered the lino floor to be covered with carpet just 2 weeks before the Titanic sailed. And the conspiracists say this is because the lino showed signs of wear, so he ordered it to be covered over with carpet because, like, some things you can't fake. Like, they did a whole lot of painting and stuff.
So the lino had a year's worth of foot traffic.
Yeah. So the fact that he put carpet over, that's fact.
Yeah.
As to why, obviously you don't know.
It might just be because lino's more grippier in wet conditions compared to lino.
Yeah, you think you'd have noticed
Did I
that
say
before.
that correctly? Carpet's more grippier than lino?
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, that one feels more grasping at straws than the mummy, but yeah.
Really? Like the fact that you just decide 2 weeks beforehand, like the whole lino situation to put carpet down.
Yeah, the captain
just
of the
before you
biggest
go?
ship on the planet. There's some money there. Chuck some carpet down. Do it in less than 2 weeks. Probably not a hard ask. Yeah, that feels fine to me.
Yeah, but also this is the main dining room. They've got like a ballroom floor and everything, so you don't want carpet on a ballroom floor.
No, but you didn't. Sorry, is this across the whole ship or lino?
No, this is dining area, like I said.
Oh, sorry, just in the dining area. Okay, that's a bit weird. Okay, just a little bit, yeah.
So we went through the whole James Fenton thing. He does exist. His friend exists. The ship that he worked on existed, and it is matter of record that he did work on this ship.
He did work on a ship.
No, the Kuliga ship.
Yeah. But there's no fact about him being with the Titanic.
No fact at all that he was with the Titanic.
There's no evidence to prove that he wasn't. Like this Kuliga did he work on that at the exact same time that he says he works on the Titanic?
No, there's no evidence that he did not or
For
did.
or against.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So, as we mentioned before in the previous conspiracy that is a bit crap, JP Morgan cancelled his ticket last minute. Mm-hmm. His good friend Milton Hershey cancelled his ticket last minute.
Who?
Milton Hershey.
Nothing to do with the chocolates.
Yes, absolutely to do with chocolates.
Mr. Chocolate.
Mr. Chocolate.
Yeah.
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 Milton Hershey, who went on to... I'm really surprised you know that because you're such a Patrick.
I've heard of Hershey chocolates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I was actually trying to find, like... Because we can get Hershey's Kisses here.
Yeah.
I was trying to find a bar of Hershey's chocolate in New Plymouth for tonight, but we couldn't.
You could have just got Hershey's Kisses.
But I wanted the bar.
Okay.
Because, like, Hershey's Kisses would not be weird to you because that's like a staple. But the Hershey's bar, you probably even had Hershey's bar, eh?
No, I've never. I didn't know that was a thing. Hershey's bar.
So yeah, Milton Hershey cancelled his ticket last minute, along with JP Morgan himself, and apparently...
Do you know what would be impressive?
What?
If we can get more Instagram followers than size on this podcast from you about me being ignorant.
That would be impressive. I don't think that's going to happen.
Maybe one day.
We'd be millionaires if that happened.
Pipe dream.
Yeah.
You don't make money from Instagram. Yeah.
We'd be millionaires if that happened. And apparently, and those are the only ones that I could really... there were actually a lot of other first-class passengers that cancelled their ticket last minute, but... In terms of people that were actually friends with JP Morgan, that was the only one that I could find evidence that he was actually friends with.
Mr. Hershey Chocolate.
Mr. Hershey.
Best friend.
Yeah. So, like, a whole bunch of other first-class passengers, like Fokovsky, and didn't get on for whatever reason.
It seems weird that a lot of people cancel their tickets.
Apparently it's not that weird.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of them did. And also I found, there's a lot of talk about a whole lot of like crew members cancelling last minute saying that they don't want to get on board because they had like heard all this rumours, but I couldn't substantiate it with anything. So
you couldn't?
No, I couldn't substantiate it with anything. So there's like a whole...
So all these people cancelling tickets, they heard for what you heard different rumours?
Yeah, so apparently like a whole bunch of the people that are part of the shipbuilding exercise and stuff, they refused to get on from the Southampton to New York journey because they said that there was like stuff wrong and they didn't want to go onto it because they're like scared.
But
I
it's
can't-
normal practice, is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying it's normal practice. I'm saying I couldn't substantiate it.
There's no facts to sway either way. If
Yeah,
if
I
that
couldn't
is
find any
fact
official
or
facts.
few.
So I tried to look into how many crew like abandoned their post beforehand, and that was really hard to substantiate because of the amount of crew that were like not actually not recognized, but like because the official crew and passenger list were so hard to actually figure out who was there and who wasn't, and that's why to this day the whole crew and passenger list is out by like between like 100 to 200.
Right.
Like it's real difficult.
Yeah. And so for the conspiracyist is also out by the people in the know versus not in the know.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you wanted to chuck fuel on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's apparently like a lot of family lore, as in LORE, saying that their great granddad worked on the Titanic and he was told not to go on it because of this reason. But I just can't find anything that backs it up.
Yeah.
But there's a like,
And so for the anti-conspiracists, that could also just be a little bit of paranoia. Hey, look, just
or
don't
just-
go on it. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I've had a weird dream, no actual fact behind it.
granddad
or
liked to
something
chew too
like
many
that.
beers and he liked to make his evenings at the pub sound a bit more interesting. So he was going to say that he
Yeah,
was
who knows? Yeah,
going to be
yeah.
on Titanic, but decided not to because someone
I feel
told
like I've
him
been
to.
very pro this conspiracy, so I'm just trying to chuck in a little anti-fact here. Yeah.
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
So, the last bit of actual physical evidence we have is the lifeboats. So, multiple sources. There's a multiple sources, and it was even an Inquisition that,
Which is a newspaper?
as in the court cases,
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
that the lifeboats were claimed to have been leaking, missing supplies, including oil lamps, and not what you'd expect for something that you'd find on a maiden voyage. So, and apparently this is again part of the actual Inquisition. Multiple lifeboats were like scrambling and trying to find like an oil lantern and stuff, and they couldn't find any. They didn't have any like water supplies or hard food supplies, which all you'd expect to find on lifeboats.
So how's this fact versus negligence?
I'm getting to.
Okay. Sorry.
So they were very curious as to why a lifeboat that was on a maiden voyage wouldn't have all these things that a lifeboat should have. Light, food.
It'd be interesting to hear from crew about how much lifeboats are checked on a maiden voyage.
But it was a maiden voyage, so they should have been put on the ship. With
Yeah, but
all that
maybe it's
stuff.
like, look, we'll sort that out. Like, we haven't quite got enough, but we'll sort this out for trip number 2. Like, what's
And-
the chance of crashing on first?
Some of them were leaking. And that's also a matter of public record. Like, some of
Yeah,
them were
but-
found, like, ankle deep in water. That shouldn't be happening in a lifeboat that's never been used before.
Because I always like to play devil's advocate. Maybe it's more like along the lines of like, let's get this up and running so we can make money from it. And things are a little bit rushed. The supplies aren't quite fully stocked yet because look, we'll sort it out for the second trip. But we'll, like when it comes back, we'll top it up. And maybe the lifeboat's a little bit rushed because this is the greatest boat we've ever built. It's not going to crash. Like, we'll be sweet at a little bit of laziness. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
To play devil's advocate.
yeah, and I appreciate that. But the theory is that because they switched with the Olympic, the lifeboats would have been too like big and or cumbersome and heavy to actually switch round. So they just switched because all the lifeboats have like a plate on them saying the ship's name. So they just switched the
The
ship's
damaged ones.
No, they
Switched.
switched the ship's nameplate around so that the lifeboats that they actually had on the Titanic, which is
Quotation
actually
mark, yeah.
Olympic,
Yeah.
were the old Olympic ones. So like they've been like used and stuff. That's why they're leaking. That's why I had like
No, but
missing whole
like
bunch
a
of stuff.
1-year-old lifeboat. It shouldn't be leaking.
Yeah, but it's been used and it might be. And
No,
also,
but it hasn't been used because the Olympic at this time hadn't
it'd
sunk.
been no, but it'd been like hit at least once.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
And also like
So that's what I meant by damaged. Yeah.
people could like be pilfering stuff. Like, you know, if you go into a hotel room and you like pilfer something, you might like
No, but like, hey, look, we're about to sink this boat. A couple of hundred people know of the several thousand. Like, I'm just going to pinch a little bit of something here because hardly anyone knows about this, so I'll take it from wherever,
Well,
including the
yeah, it's
lifeboat.
more like people on the Olympic.
I'm not feeling very strong about these facts, but okay, yeah.
Yeah, the people on the Olympic, not knowing the fate that was about to befall the Titanic, would have just been like walking on a promenade, think, oh, I'll like sneak a little oil lamp or a first aid
like
kit.
how people pinch stuff. Yeah, right. Yeah, okay.
And then because the lifeboats themselves, this is back in 1912, wooden and cumbersome, it would have been way easier to just like switch out the plates on them. Switch out the plates on them rather than actually switch the whole lifeboat. So they just switched the plates on them. To say the new Titanic plates would have been on the old lifeboats, and the old lifeboats would have had leaks because they've been used, and they would have like had items
Used,
pilfered,
damage, theft.
Yeah.
Okay.
and that's why they're like leaking, and that's why. And
It's just the leaking side of it that I'm struggling with. I don't think a used lifeboat, unless it was damaged from another warship crashing into it, I don't think it would be leaking. I think it would be wrecked or fine. But I don't know. I'm more inclined to think it would be destroyed.
or it's been on the sea for like in like the open air.
No, but how long do you say the Titanic launched? Sorry, the Olympic launched before the Titanic?
A year and a half.
Yeah, I don't think a lifeboat would have been like on the sea for a year and a half.
I
I would assume that a lifeboat would be able to
You'd hope so.
last a lot longer than that.
Yeah. But the
from not being used either.
The pilfered items, though, however.
Pilfered, yeah, a little bit of theft, I can understand, especially from the lifeboat, because who's going to check this? It's not from the main area where people walk past all the time. This is from the thing that nothing's going to happen to, because this boat's never going to crash. We might as well pinch the whatever they stole. But the leaking side of it, I don't believe. But the theft, I do. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So that was it for like the main evidence for that scam. The rest
It's
of it was
pretty good.
all hearsay,
Yeah.
and I don't like hearsay because it's hearsay.
It's hearsay. Yeah, but it's pretty. I liked it.
There is some stuff against it though.
Yeah.
Do you want me to ruin your day?
Yeah, no, go on. Ruin my day.
All right. So the Titanic and the Olympic had their
So, sorry, before you tell me this fact, I'm currently at a 7 out of 10. So 10 being absolute, I believe this is a conspiracy. 5 being I'm unsure. 0 being no, I know this is not a conspiracy. I feel like I'm leaning towards conspiracy at the moment. Hit me with some anti-conspiracy facts.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they all had like the number like stamped into a lot of the like equipment and stuff on the ship. So
Yep.
Olympic was 400 and Titanic was 401. And when they eventually found the Titanic in 1985,
It had heaps of 401 throughout it.
yeah, they had the propeller was 401. Apparently, to conspiracists, when the Olympic was involved in the crash with the Hawk, they cannibalized a lot of the stuff from Titanic to get the Olympic out sooner, and that included the propeller.
Other way around.
Nope.
Cannibalised a lot of stuff from the Olympic to get the Titanic out sooner.
Nope.
Because you said the Olympic was already out.
Yeah, but the Olympic had crashed at this point, and
So
they
took
wanted
stuff
to.
from the Titanic
Yeah. The
and then put what on the Titanic? More of the same stuff.
because they had more time to get extras for the Titanic.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Which also could explain why stuff wasn't... No, that's just lifeboat
So
stuff. But
the
okay,
fact
yeah,
that
yeah.
the Titanic, which was 401, had the 401 stamped on the propeller, which they saw when they actually found it,
Do you know where the Hawk crashed into the Olympic?
off the coast of Southampton.
No, sorry, we were on the boat.
Oh, I did see pictures. It was on the starboard
Was it into the
side.
propellant?
No, it wasn't.
Starboard, which is the right-hand side.
It is,
Thank
because
you,
I taught you
Hannah
the thing.
Education.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Not allowed to drink. No. No. You meant to talk and drink when I talk.
It tasted good because he told me not to.
It always makes it taste better. Carry on.
What's the thing?
I asked if you knew where the Hawk crashed into the Olympic.
Off the coast of Southampton.
On the starboard side.
Yes.
Which is not... Oh, do we know
It's the
for a
opposite
fact...
of the left-hand side.
Do we know for a fact if it damaged the propeller?
We don't know for a fact.
Okay, so carry on then.
I think that's about it. Like, they found the 401 on the propeller, so conspiracists say this is actually evidence towards it there's a switch, because apparently the propeller was switched around. I can't find any evidence to or against that. There's like a whole lot of weirdness about the propeller.
But just the propeller, like, so so that shipwreck, I assume, is still down there of the Titanic. And so,
Yeah, but interestingly enough,
yeah,
they reckon that by 2050, it will be entirely gone because of the bacteria that's eating away at the iron hull. And
very cool.
the bacteria that's eating away at the iron hull is actually got its own name. I can't remember what it's called, but it's named after the Titanic. It's like
Titanica or something.
Bacterium Titanica or whatever.
Okay.
Because it's like a bacteria that is localized around the Titanic, and it's going to like totes eat away at it before
Very
2050.
cool side fact. Yeah, well done.
Yeah, sorry, what were you saying?
So the shipwreck has been, or sorry, the Titanic shipwreck was discovered vaguely when?
In 1985?
And do you know if between then and now they have found 401 on that shipwreck other than the propeller?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. Not that I know of, sorry. Not that I know of.
Right, so it could be or could not be. So the propeller's the only fuel for the serial number swap.
Oh, also, there's the promenade issue.
Which is what?
So the Olympic and the Titanic look very similar in photos and stuff. However, when they were building the Titanic, they realised, because the Olympic was already out in the ocean, that the promenade deck at the top was not getting actually used that much. So that was the area that like first class passengers were like just like walking to and fro as you do, being on first class and shit. And they weren't, it was actually getting used that much. So they decided to enclose the area and expand that into being like first class cabins and also like a little cafe. And so it was an enclosed area. Whereas on Olympic it's an open area, an open promenade area, but in the Titanic it's a closed area. So in the photos of the Titanic before it set sail, you can see a closed area, whereas in the Olympic it's an open area. So that goes quite against the theory.
So for those that have been drinking as much as me and following along on this, say that again but short.
Photo evidence says yeah, nah.
So the Titanic, the top part was closed in?
A part of the top part.
But once again, back to photo evidence, they definitely,
So,
it's
like-
a fact they use Olympic photos to promote the Titanic.
That is true, but there are photos of the Titanic leaving the port on that day. So like photos before that, hard to quantify.
Yeah,
But photos from the newspaper on that day of the Titanic leaving, they're pretty much what you can guarantee is correct. And
They show that the Titanic
had a closed in or a partial closed in deck, where the Olympic had an open deck.
Okay, but to fuel the conspiracy, and I feel like I'm trying to be a conspiracist now, is that if you had a slightly damaged Olympic, it wouldn't be too hard to change it to a closed-in deck to make it look like the Titanic?
And that's how the conspiracy goes, so it wouldn't be too difficult. The problem is,
yeah.
you've got to pay off those people who are doing it for you, and the thing is, with people, it's really hard to get people to keep secrets.
No, but also you could change the names first and go, hey, can you come work on the Titanic and just close in this deck here and
Yeah, true.
and don't look over this one particular side which is facing out to the ocean, which you can't even see even if you look over the side. And so no, I think that could be easy enough to fake, but okay.
And also, immediately after the Titanic thing happened, Olympic was called back in and was in dry dock for a couple months, getting retrofitted with extra safety upgrades. And some conspiracists think this is the point in time where they retrofit it to look more like the Titanic, because there's only a couple months where like the people that would have seen the Olympic and the Titanic would have overlapped.
Okay. That fits into here there for me. But okay.
Yeah. Interesting though.
Yeah. And so is that all?
Yeah, that was pretty much all the stuff I had on that.
So I think for the end of it, I'm actually surprised, like from coming into this, not even knowing that, really having a lot of. I remember one fact from the documentary that I don't remember anything of was something to do with the Titanic like filling up with water at different levels, and I can't remember enough of it. I wouldn't even know the documentary to quote it.
I think from what I remember, it was designed to be able to withstand either 4 or 5 like cabins of water, but it overshot it by 1.
Right, but I'm surprised. Like I feel like I've ended this maybe on a 6 out of 10, with 5 being I'm not sure how I feel about it, but 6 actually being like I'm 1 point towards believing this is a conspiracy, but that's just believing it's conspiracy. Like it surprised me the number of facts here, like the fact that the Olympic actually had a crash and couldn't be insurance claimed as a fact, and to switch it around and to have the cover-ups and for the dollar values available at the time, that actually sounds pretty like that's not too hard to believe. I reckon that's a pretty good one. I'm impressed. Well done.
Thank you.
For convincing the skeptic.
Thank you.
So once again, if anyone wants to give us any feedback on this, where's the best place to do so? The Instagram page?
The Tinfoil Tavern. _Tinfoil_Tavern.
Like the podcast is done. Like half the listeners have probably hit stop by now. But if you want to shout out anyone else too.
Oh, crap, yeah, because Caitlin gets really upset if we don't shout her out.
We've got to mention Caitlin every...
Sorry.
yeah.
Hello, Caitlin.
Yeah. Who's easily in my top 2 of sisters. Like, she's moving on up. Big fan. I like Caitlin.
I think she's the only sister that listens to this podcast.
Is she?
I think so.
Well, if the other 2 aren't going to be offended, she's easily my favourite.
Oh, easy.
Like, absolutely.
Make the other one say something
she's
weird.
She's beautiful, exteriorly and interiorly. I like Caitlin.
I don't mind you either, Caitlin.
I don't mind you either.
That's sisterly affection.
So thank you very much for listening to the Tinfoil Tavern. My name's Thomas.
My name's Hannah.
And we'll catch you next week.